Good evening. It's great to see all of you here. There's really no better place than here tonight. It is a great honor and pleasure to have 4 brilliantly successful women coming from very diverse backgrounds to speak to us and to share their personal journeys. There's so much happening in the field of AI, machine learning, and robotics. The race to AI superpower between US and China is on. Actually, last year, China filed far more patents in AI and machine learning related fields than US by a huge margin. Has anybody heard of the work schedule 996? So in China, working from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week is considered work-life balance. Because most AI startups are working 997 schedule. Wow. And we actually have many Chinese friends join us virtually right now. 中国朋友们，你们好。So I want to start by saying thank you to DLA Piper. They are being so generous for sharing this amazing facility with us. DLA Piper is a global law firm with offices in 40+ countries. I'm Nikki Gaspinel, president of California Software Professional Association. CSPA is privileged to be partnering with AICUG for this event. Dr. Florence worked tirelessly for this event. She was injured recently, and her injury didn't slow her down. So with that, Florence, would you like to introduce our first speaker?
Okay. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming. Before I introduce our first speaker, please allow me to introduce AICUG. Actually, AICUG, the full name is Artificial Intelligence Core User Group. We established last year, March, and till now is one of the, actually till now is the largest AI community in China and one of the largest in here. And every month we will hold this type of AI Tech Share meeting, and so welcome everybody to join us. And this time, I'm very glad to work with Nikki and also invite these 4 brilliant women superwomen in AI to give us a talk. So our first speaker will be Savita Raina. Savita is the director of product marketing for Oracle AI. She has more than 11 years working experience in high-tech company and high-tech industry. Her role in she has a diverse role, including product manager and product developer. Until now, she's the director of marketing. And today, Savita will show us a great picture of AI trend. Welcome, Savita.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Then I don't need this. Okay. Thank you, Fong, for such a great introduction. Hi, everyone. I'm Savita, and I think I already got introduced. So for this presentation, what I wanted to do is just to provide a little bit of context about AI so that my fellow speakers can provide a much broader discussion in terms of what AI, about ethics, and many other topics that will be covered. So the goal here is really to focus on the high-level overview of what AI is, what the core technologies are, some of the use cases, the potential that AI has to offer, as well as the challenges that implementation of AI offers to the enterprises. Given that I am from Oracle, I will definitely provide a little bit overview in terms of what Oracle's AI offerings are. And with that, a little bit more about myself. I just wanted to kind of mention that apart from working at Oracle, I also worked at SAP, Sybase, on the data management side, on the BI and analytics, and many other tools and technologies which enterprises usually use. So, and in my prior life, I actually worked as an engineer in high-tech semiconductor, which is completely different industry than what I am currently in. So I think we already set up the agenda in terms of talking about an overview in terms of what AI is, core technologies, promise and challenges of AI, and then a little bit about Oracle AI strategy. Quick question for all of you. When you think of AI, what comes to your mind? Anyone? Any volunteers?
iRobot.
iRobot. Okay.
Automation.
Automation.
The Echo devices.
Echo devices. Anything else?
HAL.
Pardon me?
HAL.
Hell.
2001.
Well, I think like that this slide pretty much covers what you said in terms of when we think of artificial intelligence, really an array of images comes to our minds. We think about the man and the machine working together, like Iron Man and the AI suit Jarvis working together to fight the bad guys. And then the other side of the spectrum, we also have or think about the dark side of AI, where we have Terminators and these intelligent beings coming over us and taking away and making us pretty much slaves. But when we are talking about AI in context with the enterprises, they really have a different view of AI. For them, AI is an ability or next wave of information technology so that they can increase their productivity, they can decrease their costs, they can enhance customer experiences, and many more outcomes, business outcomes they are looking for from AI. So it's not necessarily the view the science fiction is projecting, but a completely different view in terms of how do they augment their business processes, how do they get to the next level of innovation quicker, faster, right? So that's what we are going to talk about. And I'm hoping that this discussion today here with my fellow colleagues, we will push our imagination to think about how we can use this tool for the betterment of the world and for our better lives. Put this quote together, not me, it was from Albert Einstein, that the true sign of intelligence is not knowledge, but imagination. So let's reimagine what AI can possibly do for us. So AI is everywhere. It has become an integral part of all of us. I'll share an anecdote with you, and I'm sure you will agree with me. 2 years back, my little niece was 5 years old. It was her birthday, and she was asking me so many questions, and I said, "How come you have become so smart?" And she's like, I get all my questions answered by Alexa. And I was a little baffled by that, and I was still trying to process what she said. And then she says, "Do you know Alexa lives in the cloud?" And I just, I was like, what is she talking about? What baffled me was the way she talked about Alexa. As if it was another person, it was another friend she was referring to. And at that time, I realized that it's pretty much true. They have become these conversational AIs, Alexas, Cortanas, and Siris. They have become an integral part of us. And think about us, if I have to get a ride at Uber, the underlying technology it is using to match me with the driver is AI. The cost, it tells me that I have to pay $18 for this ride, is utilizing the intelligence, that is AI. And the best route possible to get from point A to point B is utilizing the intelligence of machine learning. So from self-driving cars to the virtual assistants and conversational AIs, which are kind of plugged into our homes, is AI. And it has transcended from the consumer world to the enterprise world. I mean, we don't see that happening, but that's the reality. From healthcare, use cases come across the wide industry, from healthcare to education, for line of businesses as well. So, I mean, it's amazing that, I was just reading an article yesterday that there was an experiment using the data from in UK, where now they can predict precisely when someone is going to die. And the prediction is coming very clearly close to reality using deep learning methodology. So, and I mean, in healthcare lately, it has been used for diagnosis of cancer and Alzheimer's, and there are many more applications where the AI is getting used. So I just want to kind of provide this context here so that we can understand the gravity of what this transformative technology has to offer to all of us. When we're talking about AI, another question we really have to ask ourselves, what is driving the adoption of AI and why now? So this is an interesting question because the term AI, artificial intelligence, was coined maybe 60 plus years back. And why is it gaining traction now? I think I kind of categorize into two parts. One, the technology drivers. So the very first is that the data. The foundation to running or doing AI, artificial intelligence, is data. And now we have so much data every day. We are creating tons and tons and universes of data, from structured data in terms of whether you're buying at Starbucks, you're swiping, the transaction that happened is a structured data. But then we have unstructured data that is coming from our cell phones, the images we are taking, the video content, the IoT devices, the sensor data is coming from machines in factories to our smart home. To the text, I mean, we don't any longer talk to each other. We prefer to just communicate through text, and that is also unstructured data. So we are using all this data, and how can we utilize this data to get more insights? And that's one of the biggest reasons why there's a huge adoption of AI, is that this data, not only the universe of data, I would many times call it multiverse of data, is available. Second, very important aspect from the technology perspective is the availability of high performance computing, which is available at low cost and accessible to every one of us. We all can be entrepreneurs and building new technologies because now we have access to high performance computing. And when I was in school 10, 15 years back, we used to talk about CPUs and other things while I was doing masters. But nowadays that conversation has changed. We're talking about more in terms of GPUs, graphic processing units. We're talking about TPUs, tensor processing units, which are really designed to run machine learning workloads. So which is an interesting concept that we are moving where we need that kind of computing power to run these kind of processing because it needs high performance, very robust computing. And thirdly, from the technology perspective, it is the adoption of the cloud. I know that many of us, many companies are moving in that direction with Oracle from on-premises to being a cloud company. But that's very important because most of the businesses are going that way, not just because they want to cut or save costs, but also because it gives them the agility they need to tailor themselves to the new changes happening because of digitalization. So I think that's another aspect which is making it easier for companies to adopt AI technology. So cloud is really, really democratizing AI and making available this technology to all of us and making it accessible. So in terms of the business drivers, what's changing there? I think we all are part of that conversation because when my Amazon delivery doesn't get delivered on time, which usually doesn't happen, I freak out. I keep on checking my phone that when is that going to be delivered. So it's because our expectation from technologies is that we want our products or services to be delivered in real time. We want to be delivered them at any time, anywhere, and we want this experience to get to all the products and services we need in a seamless manner. In the sense that when I click on my phone and I want to get the Uber ride, I just don't want to click too many times. I just want to just enter my address where I'm going. And I know that it's going to take me half an hour to get from here to there. And we are coming with that kind of mentality. And I know that all the next generation kids, that's what they are used to. They can't, we have lost our patience to wait. So, and that's one of the reasons businesses are more keen to utilize these technologies, because otherwise we know what happened to Kodak, and we know what happened to many other companies which lost their business because they couldn't base themselves to the changing world or to the changing digital world. So I think that's very important to set up the context as to why this technology is important and critical. I just wanted to bring this slide. I know this just to kind of reconfirm some of the things we talked about in terms of the market perspective. We just did a survey with HBR, and they conducted the survey, and they surveyed more than 500 CIOs and C-level executives, and the results came very close to what is described here. 80% of the C-level executives, no matter which area they were, mostly CIOs and other top-level C executives, they are, for them, utilizing this technology is very critical. It's very critical for their business. And as you can see that, from Gartner to many other analyst firms, they are referring to it that this is so critical for their business that they're already investing so much of their energy and time and effort and resources into it, that this is going to be absolutely needed for their survival in next couple of years. So any of the students here, I think if you're a student, I think it's very important that if you're looking for a job as a data scientist or even otherwise as a developer, start thinking of the courses you should be taking. There are a lot of courses available in machine learning and understanding how to use language like Python or R, or even other people who are wanting to do that career transition. I think it's very critical. So just wanted to kind of give this context and reconfirm what we already talked about. Any questions so far? I know I'm trying to go fast. Yes?
Any chance we can get the slides afterwards?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Sure.
I'll share it with her and maybe. Given that, we talked about what's happening in the market, what are the trends, I just wanted to kind of, given that we have a mix of audiences here, provide a little bit context as to what AI is and define it. And because there are so many terminologies being used, we're talking about artificial intelligence, and there is, we throw another term, machine learning, and then we talk about deep learning, and many other words. So I thought it will be a good idea, given that we have a mix of audience here, to kind of define these, so that once my other co-speakers come, they talk about a little bit more, we can have a little context. So if you do a quick Google search, of course, you will find tons of definitions of what artificial intelligence is and many other terminologies we talked about. But for me, I think it's very critical that, or I would say that as humans, we have this innate desire to create. And we keep on creating, we innovate, and we keep on doing that. And while we have been building these amazing tools and technologies and computers, we will now want to see them as intelligent as us, or even more intelligent. And so this term, artificial intelligence, was, as I said, coined 60 plus years back. And it's really a field of computer science with the focus to build intelligent machines which have a higher degree of efficiency and precision and accuracy. And if you look at the core tenets, I tried to put those here. They are very much in line with what human intelligence is. How do we humans gain access to information? Through our visual. We see something, we process that information. It's same thing that what we expect from AI in terms of image processing, that the AI has the capability to see an image and understand and get the context. Natural language processing. We are using language as a means to communicate our ideas, and that's what has been driving in a world where we are, we have been much better than any other primates because of that intelligence, because we can communicate our ideas much easier. So we're expecting our AI to do the same, utilize natural language processing. And like humans, we expect this artificial intelligence to solve problems, very complex problems, and use reason and logic like us humans do. So we are really trying to create this child, which is not necessarily having a life like us, but still has the same capabilities and tenets as we humans have. I definitely wanted to kind of also bring other terminologies that are being used. One, machine learning, which is a subset of AI. AI is a very broad term, but machine learning is, as the name suggests, machines learn. Machines learn from when you feed them data, and that's kind of like and they use data to create patterns and identify, get some insights from that data. And deep learning is a subset of machine learning, which is more focused on, which mimics how our brains are formed, like they're using the way our brains are structured, neurons and neural network. So that's kind of, I just wanted to give a little bit of context here. And then the data science, which is more related to a job function, which is upcoming. And there's a lot of need for companies to have more and more data scientists, because how do they train these models? How do they utilize the data to get the right insight they're looking for? And if you're a student, I think, and in a computer science, I'm sure you're already looking into seeing how you can get a job as a data scientist. I just quickly wanted to focus a little bit more on the machine learning. I know, I mean, like if you do search, you can already get this information about what machine learning is. But I just wanted to focus a little bit about the core technologies, underlying technologies that are part of machine learning. One, supervised machine learning. If I have to really explain what a supervised machine learning is, think about it as a child going to school, having a teacher who teaches the child that, hey, A for apple, A stands for apple, and shows them the apple, and they learn from that. So this supervised machine learning is more where you provide the input to the machine as well as the output to the machine. And then the machine, after it has learned from the inputs and outputs, it extrapolates that and uses, when you provide it another data set, it can give you an insight. So that is what we see as a supervised machine learning. And some of the use cases around supervised machine learning is usually fraud detection, predictive maintenance, where, for example, machines they can predict when something is going to fail, and you will change those things early on. For example, in aircraft, there are so many components. You feed that information, it kind of sees when that component may fail, and it's going to send an alert. Hey, you know what? We need to change this thing before any disaster happens. So those kind of places, those kind of use cases use supervised machine learning. And the second form, which is called unsupervised machine learning, is often used in use cases like customer segmentation or recommendation engine, like what you use for Netflix. When I watch Netflix, it provides me some recommendation in terms of what potential shows you can see is utilizing unsupervised machine learning. So let me explain what unsupervised machine learning really is. So here you're providing your machine just the input. You're just providing the raw data, but you're not providing them any guidance as to what the output is. And the machine, based on mostly computers, they recognize the patterns and identify potentially based on the behaviors, they can categorize the data that they just put them in a one bunch of set of data together. And then we have this another type of machine learning, which is called reinforcement learning, and often used in robotic navigation. Like you may have seen those videos where the robot is doing a flip or something like that. It's basically that, like a child learning how to bike. You use trial and error. You get some feedback and you see that oh, I need to do this thing to mitigate that. So there's a feedback mechanism which is pulling into the system so that it learns from that. So just wanted to kind of give you a little bit insight into what the different types of machine learning are and how they are kind of getting utilized in enterprise spaces to build new applications. So we have come to this point where I think there is a huge promise and potential for AI. So one, definitely it is to augment human experiences. I would talk about conversational AIs like Alexa, where you don't have to any longer type. You don't have to be educated enough even to know the language to type to get some output. Rather, you can use your gestures or you can use your voice as a command to get the information. Imagine a farmer in India who is not educated and wants to see what the weather is like so that he can go to his fields and do his job. He can just ask Alexa, tell me what the weather is, and get that information. So that's one area. Another area is definitely, as we talked about, human accuracy, diagnosis of cancer or something like on those lines. So it's augmenting those aspects, and then revolutionizing the decision-making process, because now it's giving the insights to the customers about what next possible action would be. So I know that I have been indicated that the time is running out for me. So I quickly want to tell that, so the enterprises, the way they are using AI is moving away from the traditional enterprise where the processes or the business processes were very fixed, and they are now going to be more agile, they are going to be more adaptive, so that to encompass the next wave of innovation as well as bring new experiences to the enterprise software. I think we already talked about some of the benefits in terms of the cost reduction, in terms of increasing of efficiency, in terms of delivering exceptional customer service, and accelerating mostly innovation for most of the companies.
You can take more time if you need it. It's
Oh,
okay.
oh,
If you want to, don't
okay.
stifle yourself.
Okay.
Go for it, lady.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll just
Yeah.
couple more minutes. As much as there's a promise to AI, right? We are so super excited that this technology is going to solve all core problems. That's not the case. It's still in a stage where certain use cases are awesome, but then there are challenges to implement it for the organizations, because it's not just plug and play and you're done with it. Some of the things which the enterprises are feeling challenged is that data silos. You have multiple systems. If you look at any company, they will have so many different systems, and the data is in one storage area, and then they have other data in some other place. And even if you hire a bunch of data scientists, what can they do if you don't give them the access to the data? What are they going to work on? So that's a big challenge for most of the businesses, that how do they solve the complexity where they already are, because they have systems from Oracle, SAP, and many other companies, small and big. They have different systems, and they don't know how to best integrate and get this data together. So that's one. I think I already talked about incompatible systems. Like, how do you let one system talk to another? The interoperability between the systems doesn't exist, so that's another challenge. In terms of the technology, that's a big challenge again, because to running machine learning or AI in your ecosystem, you need to have the right technology. You need to have a specialized hardware which can run this kind of machine learning workloads. It cannot be used by your regular commodity hardware. And usually this hardware is not cheap. It costs a lot of money. And that's another challenge. And then the skills. I think we refer to it even though there are a lot of students here and there's a lot of potential for you to go out, because data scientists are really sort of often a commodity. But this talent they need to build these models, to identify right business problem they want to solve, even no matter how much amount of data they have, they don't have the talent and the skills. There's a huge skill gap out there. And that's a big challenge again for businesses to implement this technology. So I kind of early on mentioned that, given that I am from Oracle, I kind of wanted to kind of give a quick pitch in terms of what Oracle has to offer and how we as a company are helping our customers help them with their journey to become an AI-driven enterprise. So the strategy we have in place is really three-pronged. We are offering our customers three aspects. One, ready-to-go applications. These applications have already the machine learning, the AI, machine learning is already embedded in it. So if you're a business user, for example, you are working for a CMO's organization and you want to see what the churn rate of your customers is, you don't necessarily have to hire a bunch of data scientists just to get that lined up. With our applications, business applications, enterprise application like ERP, HCM, SCM, supply chain management, you can just use those applications and get those insights because we are trying to build these capabilities within the product itself. And then ready to build a platform. Many of the companies, even they can use these SaaS applications, that's awesome, but they still require some customization. They still require certain things to be customized to meet their business requirements. So if you are interested in building a brand new application, we have a platform for you in the sense that which covers the entire spectrum because it's just not having a data scientist to do something, right? They need to have a space where the data is stored. You need a very robust data management solution. You need some tools to do data science and analytics. You need an application development platform so that you can build your applications. And then you need a very robust cloud infrastructure, which is optimized to run machine learning workloads to do that kind of things for you. So that's why we offer this platform, especially for people who want to build things. And then there are a lot of people, one of the aspects of data doing this machine learning is that you have to store your data. It has to be stored in a fashion which is efficient and optimized. So we have at Oracle tried to utilize machine learning in our data management solutions, especially databases. That's our bread and butter, and making it easy for IT teams to utilize our technology so that those things can be optimized for them and they don't have to worry about the repetitive tasks and they can focus on more important aspects. I know I wanted to leave you all on a positive note, so that's why I had this quick 1 minute video. And okay, so I don't think I can play it because it's not hooked up to the internet. I didn't.
There is Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I didn't connect, so that's okay.
You can share the link later too.
Yeah, sure. So basically the idea was really that how AI can transform some of the biggest challenges we are facing. Like one of the examples was this World Bees project, which Oracle is collaborating with. Bees are very important for us. I hope you all agree that they are needed for pollination, and if bees are gone, we are gone. So basically, they're using Oracle Cloud infrastructure and some of the AI technologies so that they can use the bee acoustics, like their sound and where they are, to figure out what will be the best way to protect them and do some analysis of that. So this is a pretty interesting project. And this is one of the projects where it's like the AI for good, because we always think AI as an enemy or there's a dark side to it. I'm sure there is, because no tool, it can't exist. Like if you don't have the dark side, we all have that too. So, but I just wanted to leave us on a positive note that there is a hope. There's hope for all of us and to utilize this technology for better and a better lives. So with that, I know I did it quickly. Hopefully,
Thank you.
Our next speaker, Renee Yao, is the Senior Product and Marketing Manager at NVIDIA, focusing on vertical AI solutions and building GPU-accelerated AI data center. Renee graduated from Haas School of Business at Berkeley, and she was named top 50 B2B product marketer by CarPost in 2016. In her spare time, Renee enjoys competitive Latin dancing, horseback riding, golfing, sculpturing, and contributing to tech communities like this. Thank you, Renee.
Perfect.
hear me in the back? I have a soft voice. Yeah?
Yeah.
Or prefer I have a mic?
Okay.
Okay.
Bring it on, right?
You have to turn it on. Small.
Is this on?
Hello?
Good.
Perfect. It'll help people in the back. You can hear me?
Very good.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. I'm actually recently promoted as a product manager to manage our DGX pod, which is a reference architecture to scale AI infrastructure. And building on top of that is our vertical focused solutions. So today I want to share with you guys a little bit about who I am and why I'm passionate about AI and how you guys can take your current level of learning in AI to the next level. This is an exciting space. And to everyone in China, 早上好，谢谢。 So this is me. Besides building my skills as a product manager, the technical skills, the go-to-market skills, one of the key skills I am actually building is public speaking. And I think for any of us, it's good to start somewhere small and then scale that out. And that goes to our product line as well. Start somewhere small and scale that out. And for me, I actually decided that public speaking is so important because you really need a very short and concise way to drive your message home across the board to no matter what the audience is. So in 2015, I actually started on a whiteboard session of being able to clearly articulate what our product value prop is, no matter what the audience is in the room. So there, I constantly started winning a lot of Toastmasters competition, and then to the first woman in AI talk in 2017 in front of 75 people. And then from there on, I was on the road, taking the AI mission on the road, speaking. I spoke in 4 different countries for the AI Roadshow. And then the Women in Tech panel, that one was in front of a 500 people room. Then I took that globally to continue going to Australia, Israel, and Korea, and everywhere else. And today I hope to share with you guys some of the latest AI innovation. Every single one of my presentations is different. So feel free to check out some of my other presentations to get a feel of how AI actually has evolved over time. Who knows NVIDIA? Raise your hand. Perfect. Oh, that's so great. What do you guys know us for? Shout it out.
GPU.
What does GPU do?
Play many games.
Games. What else?
It allows you to do AI.
Exactly. It's all written on the slides, isn't it? So a lot of people actually know us as a GPU company. A lot of people even say NVIDIA is a chip company. But we actually started doing a lot more than just that. Our GPUs, which is the size of the GPU is probably about this big. And then we have many different form factors of it. In fact, that B project, we actually collaborated 2 years ago with a 17-year-old who's super passionate about B project. They can actually capture data using a Jetson product, which is this big, and then go into the cloud as well, and using deep learning techniques to be able to categorize the mites within bees to get the healthiness of the bee. So with that, you use GPUs. We inspired a lot of professional artists in VR, AR, any of the movies that you guys are watching. It's all powered by our GPUs. And from there on, we realized our parallel computing can actually enable the entire AI industries. So we'll share a little bit with you guys how this space actually took off. And that's me. I'm very proud of our product. So in the middle, right here, this is a DGX station. You can always start something small. And then we have DGX 1, and we have DGX 2, and scale it big. And so DGX, this one actually has 4 GPUs, and then 8 GPUs in there, and 16 GPUs. I'm sharing this with you is, it depends on the customer case studies, data sizes. environment you're in, industry you're in, because there are regulations, there are many, many different things that you have to consider what sort of infrastructure you actually need. Some make sense on-prem, some make sense in the cloud. And we actually decided that like not only just one node makes sense, but also you have to scale it out. So this is where what we call it as the DGX pod. And we put together reference architecture with a lot of our storage partner in this space to be able to share with them what's the different configuration do you need with the compute and storage. So this is what powers all of that amazing work that you guys are seeing in the news. This is behind the scene. We do the stuff behind the scene, which is the most powerful things. And of course, we are everywhere in the cloud too. Just to give you guys a perspective, right? For those of you who can't see in the back, we have Alibaba Cloud, AWS, Baidu, Google, IBM, Oracle Cloud, Microsoft Azure, Tencent. All of these different types of GPUs are in their cloud. So we are everywhere you want. And in fact, I was just sharing with her, last week, we announced our little Jetson, $90, Raspberry Pi on steroids. Get started. You can get started now. A 17-year-old can get started, you can get started. So find a problem that you're passionate about and start small, scale big. That's how a lot of our startup companies in our NVIDIA Inception program actually got started. So NVIDIA Inception program actually has more than 4,000 AI startups focusing on many different fields, no matter if it's in the data management space or healthcare or manufacturing, oil and gas, you name it, we have them. Let's take a look at a couple of them. Hopefully this video can come out. So this one is actually being able to show how do you use AI to denoise a very loud environment.
Hi, everybody. This is Raul Casas. I'm here in Montevideo, Uruguay, in the middle of traffic, right next to the Palacio Legislativo, which is the park. Hi, everybody. This is Raul Casas.
No, go back. I can't find my mouse. I have to show you 1 second.
It's on the top.
It's on the top. Oh, there you go. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. This is Raul Casas. I'm here in Montevideo, Uruguay, in the middle of traffic.
Jump to where the noise is.
Buses. Right about now, we're going to get a lot of noise, and the traffic is moving. So hopefully, our speech enhancement algorithm will be able to get rid of all this noise.
And then with the AI.
Hi, everybody. This is Raul Casas. I'm here in Montevideo, Uruguay, in the middle of, and the traffic is moving. So hopefully, our speech enhancement algorithm will be able to.
So something like this, think that you guys probably see people on in front of TV, right? And then I was actually a videographer before. You know, one of my jobs that I have to do, I have to hold what they call the dead cat on top of someone's head to denoise the environment so they can film someone on a lousy trade show floor. Now what you have to do is just install something like this on your phone. You can record anyone on a lousy trade show floor and automatically denoise, right? It is application like these that open the possibility of what you can actually do in any industries. If you spot a celebrity, raise your hand. 2. Who else? 3. Any more? 5, 4. None of them are real. They're all fake people. They were trained by AI. We leverage a lot of celebrity images to train your network to create beautiful photos. They all look like celebrities. They look like one of those ones that you see on TV. So why are we doing this? Think, if you are a gamer, you're going to create the next game, right? Wouldn't you want all of them look like celebrities? How great! You don't have to go hire a celebrity. Or if you're in marketing, you have to get someone to sign their rights away to be able to use their image. Nah, just create like someone like their sisters, right? You own all the rights. Just use AI. That came out more than a year ago. So if you haven't seen it, that's already like way out there. People are using it left and right. But this actually got announced by Facebook several days ago. So they actually created a avatar. So here, if you guys can't see, this is a real person. This is the avatar. it literally looks like the real person. And this way, then whenever you're making different gesture with your face, an avatar can actually do the same thing. Now would you fast forward?
For exercise. I do yoga and then I do boxing too.
What kind of yoga?
Wait, okay, yoga and boxing. Yeah, there's a nice contrast.
Yeah. So what you guys are seeing here is they are putting on these VR, right? And they get to see a version of themselves, VR, avatar in the screen. And I know this is not very clear for the folks in the back, but you will see that their face show movement is actually very much similar to a human movement. So and there's actually another startup that can actually give you different voices as well. So this person can actually sound like Obama if you want. So just imagine what's the possibility of something like this. Anyone want to be creative? What can you use with this?
A more good version of Facebook that mirrors real life.
Nice. That's the next startup idea. Great.
So can you detect a fake person?
It depends on how sophisticated your neural network is.
Well, you created a fake person, but
Yeah, I guess it's like for example, right? There's this technique which I'm actually going to go into next. A lot of these that you're currently watching is using a technology called GAN. GAN stands for Generated Adversarial Network. Essentially, it's two neural network, right? One neural network is actually
I do yoga and then I do,
and they of course will go on its own. So one neural network will be creating a fake image, and then another neural network will be trying to figure out if this is fake or not. Until it cannot figure out it's fake or not, then it considers us a success. So can you really figure out it's fake or not?
I'm
That
sorry,
is the
what?
question.
Repeat that last part. Until you can figure it out,
Yes,
it's considered suspect
success.
or
Sorry.
success.
So it's almost like it's real. Hold that question because the next speaker is going to go into a lot more about ethics and what could potentially be possible in AI and what's our responsibility in this world with powerful technology like this. And this is another GAN. There's like 300 GANs ever since it came out. Every single GAN can do something different. And this GAN can teach you how to paint. It's called Val GAN. So you don't need to be an artist anymore. You can just draw these. And this is what they will give you. Because the neural network is trained to know what a rock is, what a river is. And you can automatically just change different seasons from spring to summer. And you can draw waterfalls with a straight line. Select waterfall. A waterfall. Sub-seconds. Or if you want to draw a tree on a mountain, right? Something that's very, very exciting here. Watch this. I'm trying to make that's reflection. That's how great the is. So for your future kids or other people that are going into the art world, think about the potential in this space now. If you're an artist yourself, think how your current skill set could potentially apply to the future of art, right? This is another thing that I'm super excited about NVIDIA is in a very unique place where art and science really merge together in one place. Anyone are in farming, agriculture? Great. Know any application in AI doing agriculture?
We'll see.
You will be the first one to tell them after today's session. So this technologies actually came out in 2016 already. So many people probably have their own biases and don't think that farmer is the most tech-forward people. I really do think, again, some of the farmers, some of the agriculture people are one of the smartest people out there. So this is actually Blue River technology. They actually got acquired because they're so good. And this is actually a video from 2 years ago. Now similar techniques is using to pick strawberries and a bunch of other things. So I'm just gonna fast forward a little bit. So besides her, who else can figure out what a cotton versus wheat is? What's cotton, what's wheat? Pretty hard, isn't it? So now the red is wheat and then the green is cotton after you train a neural network. Then what do? You put a camera underneath a truck and you fly it over and then it will kill all the wheat for you automatically. And this is in slow mode. And let's take a look at what real life looks like. Can your eyes even follow that? That's 90%, 99% accuracy. You're welcome. You're gonna be the coolest person in your world. Tell all of your friends. And this is 2 years ago. Many people are doing this now. There's like entire pharma using robots. And whoever's thinking about their next startup ideas, another one here. And yesterday, in fact, there's another one just came out in UK. They're using tiny robots. This is like gigantic truck, right? The other robots are this big that I saw yesterday that came out in UK. So follow the news in that space. AI is everywhere. And this came out about 10 hours ago from Boston Dynamics. Look at this robot. It's joining one of the manufacturing lines. It's part of the factory now. It can actually drop things and then go to the next one and pick it up and drop it back onto the factory again. This hasn't been done before. What was done before was the robots were trained to pick things up, and that was it, right? And then you have to direct the robot where to go. Now it can actually automatically stack things in the right place. Now you may see that like this one is actually still probably a little slow with its wagging tail, but it will get better perhaps, most likely, right? So Amazon, Walmart, SAP, big manufacturing, anywhere that's not safe, for example, in oil and gas, use something like this. So the human can focus on more meaningful work instead of moving around boxes, right? This video makes me laugh. I saw it yesterday. But how sophisticated is it? Try again. I'm gonna open my claws and try again. Okay, I opened it. I find my object. There we go. Oh, okay. I don't care. And that is exactly why we need humans, right? This is where we add the most value. We all know that's not okay. Would a robot know? Maybe in the future, if all of us put our minds together. Now, with all seriousness though, in self-driving car, it's not like that. You have to get to 100% accuracy. 99%, that means someone sitting next to you might not be here tomorrow anymore. So self-driving car is a very serious business. And at NVIDIA, we have many of our GPUs actually powering the next wave of self-driving cars. So we actually are in a very, very unique place where we collect data, train models, simulate it, re-simulate it, and map with many of the companies in the world. There's like close to 400 automakers are actually partnering with us. So you guys can actually take a look at last week's announcement that we did with Toyota. They started looking at some of our latest technologies on self-driving car. We're not going to become an automaker. We're just trying to make sure the software runs on the hardware is actually fully optimized to ensure security. Things like, for example, you can drive millions of miles, but you probably cannot experience change of time in a day, right? Or you probably can't just all of a sudden add traffic to it. And you can't just all of a sudden change the weather. So these are things using NVIDIA's technology, we're able to do simulation. So we make technology like these available to self-driving car clients, where you built a system, you built a software, and then just automatically select nighttime or daytime or, I can't see, this is so not clear. but we can like do the fog and the fog thickness. We can even adjust to it, or make it like we can even do like snow and other things. Because if you were to think back your entire driving experience, I can probably think about 3 instances. And I'm an Asian driver. I'm a very typical Asian driver. Very bad driver. I can think about 3 instances where you get to use to train your self-driving car, right? You have to drive so much to be able to train a self-driving car to learn what to do when things happen. But using something like this, you get to simulate it, to really train a car to make decisions and make it a lot faster. And you can have a machine to drive this now. You don't have a human to drive it. But again, it has to get to 100% accuracy.
Would something like this also use a GAN, like one for simulating and one for actually driving?
That would be a very good idea. I don't know. I will ask my team to see if that's something we're thinking about. Thank you.
Sure.
And why I'm passionate about that is because it runs on our DGX. So to give you an example, right? These are all DGXs. To give you an example for folks that can't read in the back, inside of our environment, 3 million label data. One of our DGX can probably train like 300K of label data on 1 neural network in 1 day. And 10 neural network representing required for self-driving car. That's about 10 parallel experiment at all times. That could potentially be 100 DGX1 per car. How much compute do you really need to make sure your self-driving car is going to be 100% safe? So that's why internally in NVIDIA, we actually have Saturn V, which is our internal our Saturn V data center. We have more than 1,000 units, and by the end of this year, we're going to have 2,000 units of these for our internal research. To give you a perspective, 10 years ago, this is what a data center looks like. Racks and rows of beautiful systems. It's about 2 petaflops. 10 years later, 1 node is 2 petaflop. That's how transformational NVIDIA is. And having 2 planes of GPUs, each size of the GPU, like right here we'll have 8, and then here 8. Having 2 planes stacked on top of each other to become 1 node is unheard of in this industry. No one even thought about this kind of architecture. NVIDIA, we do the impossible. We go design, someone else don't design. And compared to our DGX1, our DGX2, within a year, it's 10x performance. What that means is for your data scientist, if you were to use our DGX1, that would have taken you 15 days. Using our DGX2, it's after your coffee break. You'll get some results back. That's why NVIDIA data scientists, you are welcome to join us, are super spoiled. Because they actually all get one of these in their desk. They're so happy with their machines. This is their tools. We create tools for the next generation of Einstein and FMGs in our world. And here, again, start small. DGX Station, 1, 2, pod, and our Saturn V. This is a picture of me with Jensen when we launched the DGX2. That's how proud he is of the product. And our product is actually started a whole new wave of innovation in this ecosystem. People did not believe having GPUs in the server. And we put it in, we rolled it in the data center. And now if you guys are in HP, Dell, everywhere else, it's all in there. And we're a cloud everywhere. And I just have to say, in this industry, some millennials like us will think, let's jump from one job to the next because we're going to get higher pay and higher salary and higher title. Everything high. They just jump 1 year to the next to the next. I consciously made a decision here to stay at NVIDIA now, coming up May, for 3 years now. Why is that? In the hardware space, usually it takes 3 years to launch a product, to see a product from the beginning to the end of life. We launched 3 products within 3 years. I saw the beginning launch of DGX1 all the way to DGX2. Now we're actually putting together reference architecture and having key verticals going on top. And that's my current job. So that's another reason why I should join NVIDIA, because we innovate like no one else's business. Now with that, I'll end on some more call to action for data scientists, more technical folks. We have some free Deep Learning Institute classes that you guys can take. For the folks that are interested in Jetson, to start on your robot, our 17-year-old that was passionate about bees, they got started on a Jetson. I'm looking at you. Jetson, you get to build your own little robot. In fact, our intern at NVIDIA, they built a little robot that's able to identify coffee cups and when to pick up the coffee cup and throw it into the trash can. That's a tough business because is the coffee cup actually full or half? When does the robot actually throw it away, right? So that starts about a Jetson. Or you can join our Inception program if you're a startup right now. Last but not least, we just finished our GTC last week, but all recordings of the talks, 600 of them, are going to be online. So feel free to take a look at this. A month later, we'll have many, many talks available for you to take a look at for AI across all verticals. And that's it for me. Thanks.
Actually, there is some story I would like to share with us. And before Nikki and me prepare to organize this meeting, we'll think about to find the speakers. And then, unfortunately, I know everybody use LinkedIn, and we type AI in LinkedIn, and then click the people button, the filter. And the first page, and when I try to see, are there any women in AI? No. I mean, this is 1 month before. Really, this is a real story. And the second, and then I click to the next page. I found, wow, finally there's a woman in AI. Do you know who she is? She's a Pilar Manchón. Yeah. Now if you try this, the story a little bit changed. The first woman is from NVIDIA. And but no matter what, I actually checking this. Women in AI is not not too many people. So we are very glad to to open to have this meeting and to get all these great speakers. So let me introduce Pilar Manchón. I think most of you guys have read her bio in our introduction on the Eventbrite, but I would like to emphasize several points. One, she has 22 years, more than 22 years working experience in AI technology and industry, in AI industry. And the second is she holds a PhD in computational linguistics. And the third, actually, she was the founder of Indices, which was later bought by Intel. I heard that it cost Intel like 25 million. And the next one is actually in 2017, she was awarded by CNET as the 20 most influential Latinos in tech, even though I know she's Spanish. And so now her role is VP of AI in Roku. And today I think she will give us a very interesting story. It's about AI and humanism. Welcome, Pilar. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure for me to be here today. Actually, part of my presentation is introducing a little bit about myself, but I don't know that I can anymore. Who in the audience wants to just go and buy NVIDIA right now? I don't even know what I'm going to say about my company now. I just want NVIDIA. Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about Roku just to let you know what we do, because we're not quite as famous as NVIDIA, but I'm hoping that many of you have a Roku at home. How many of you have Rokus? Oh, this is sad. Anyhow, we are the first TV streaming platform, as a matter of fact.
Many people used to.
Well, actually, we're growing, as you can see. We're actually the leading streaming player market. So you know about Google, you know about Amazon, you know about Apple TV, but still, we sell a lot more Rokus than all the platforms.
more than 25% of the TVs that are sold in the US are actually Roku TVs. And we came into the market only 5 years ago. So from being nobody to becoming the first TV seller in the US, that's no small task. And as a matter of fact, we're also a top platform in terms of hours streamed. We're talking about 24 billion hours of streaming. So that's Roku. That's it. I'm done. Now let's talk about me. No, just making a little fun because some of the things that I want to talk about today is about AI, about perception, about not only algorithms, but everything around that makes us more human. How we use AI, what do we want to use AI for? What's the responsibility behind that? And I didn't want to pick on anybody, so I'm just going to pick on myself. I'm just going to use myself. So imagine for a second you cannot see me. Imagine that she did not introduce me and you can actually not see me. I am from Spain, the south of Spain, probably one of the top places in the world for technology, right? You think Spain and you think high tech, right? Come on, people. Right. And if you think about Silicon Valley in Spain, like heading head, it's like, you think about the images that come to mind and you see high tech. Flamenco and bullfighting and oranges and wonderful things. Not so much high tech, but this is where I am from. So if you had never ever seen me before, you didn't know anything about me, and you say, what is she like? What she look like? Probably, if you didn't know anything else about me, that would be your mental image of me, more or less. Right? I'm not too far, right? Now that you can see me, it's not too far from that. Right? But if you actually go online and see, who I am, you see that I'm the VP of Engineering at Roku. Before that, I was in Amazon as the Director of Cognitive Interfaces. Before that, I was at Intel. Before that, I was at Indices, my own company. I've been in a bunch of different universities. I love public speaking. I think it's fun. I enjoy sharing ideas and interacting with people. I love being involved in things that have to do with women leadership, Latino leadership, entrepreneurship, and all kinds of leadership that you can think of. And my superpower is to get caught in camera with funny faces. I can guarantee you that there will be many pictures there where I'm kind of looking fun. It's just who I am. It defines me. And my son has a lot of fun about that. But anyhow, who am I really? When you think about that, think I'm an engineer. Most people will think, I'm not a gig. It's like someone just spends their hours gigging away, right? I'm actually a linguist. My first degree is in linguistics. I'm actually also a scientist. I didn't bring my glasses because apparently you have to wear glasses to be a scientist. I couldn't find any other icon.
Oh, they call it artificial intelligence. You put on glasses.
You don't wear glasses, you're not a scientist. I couldn't find a scientist icon without glasses. So I'm just trying to say that artificial intelligence is more than just engineering. It's more than just algorithms. It brings together the science behind that into real-world applications. But where is the human part of it? Why is it that we're developing artificial intelligence? What is it that we seek with it? Who is going to be using artificial intelligence? Other machines? Or are we, human beings, the users and the future, the recipients of the artificial intelligence? What part of artificial intelligence do I work on? I work on conversational AI. And what is that? Well, that's basically natural language processing, natural language understanding. It's basically teaching computers to understand what human beings are saying and be able to answer back, say something back. So it implies hearing, translating that into something, some logical form, making sense of what it means in the context of the conversation, deciding what the next course of action, the next action should be, being able to perform or connect to the system that is going to be performing that action, generating a message that makes sense to the user, and then synthesizing it back with voice, with one of those wonderful synthetic voices that's truly NVIDIA doing somewhere. But why more intelligence? And is it intelligence all we think about when you saw Savita's presentation, you saw about the kind of intelligence, okay, being able to perform tasks. But why is it that we're so interested in agents? Is it just because they can perform things for us? Or is that other aspect of having other types of intelligence, what I call multidimensional intelligence? So you think about AI, you think, okay, this thing can do something for me. But can it understand why am I feeling or the way I'm feeling in some particular task or in some particular situation? Is it treating me in the way I expect or I need to be treated? Because we human beings are needy things. We're very needy. You know, if I go and I'm going to be your virtual assistant today, and you're going to ask me, what's the NVIDIA stock market today? Come on. Oh, you just lost $500,000. There you go. You know, and I say with a smile and a perky tone, it's like, yes, I'm sure that you feel like slapping me, please. But, you know, if I don't have any sense of whether the conversation that I'm having with you is matters to you, is somehow a sensitive matter, is something either urgent or something that you're concerned about, something that, if I say with the wrong kind of tone, in the wrong kind of wording, you know, even though you know that I'm an artificial intelligence and I really don't feel, it really bugs you. I actually feel bad about it, right? You can't help it. We're wired that way. So what do we need to do? We need to teach these agents to actually understand that whatever is happening in this particular moment in time has to be dealt with in a particular way that makes us feel good about it. Is that real? No, we're faking it. People, come on. I need some feedback here. Is that real? So we fake emotional intelligence the same way we fake social intelligence. And what is social intelligence? Social intelligence is the ability to adapt the way you're interacting with someone to the level of understanding that they have about the subject matter that you're discussing. So if you're an expert, I'm going to talk to you in a way. If you are a novice, I'm going to talk to you in a different way, even though the goal of the conversation may be the same. But the paths that I take, the jargon that I use, the words that I use, the level of confirmation, the level of interaction, the level of verbosity might be different. That would be social intelligence. Why does that matter? So Savita mentioned before having Alexa at home, having Google Home, having Siri, and the relationship that children are developing with these entities. Well, it turns out it's all encoded in our brains. It's part of the, our cognition. We identify intelligence. We assess it in terms of their ability to perform things for us, but also in terms of the ability to communicate with us. And what we seek is to have a relationship with these entities. They make you feel good, they make you feel bad, but they never leave you like not feeling anything. If you're exposed enough to these entities, you start feeling like they have a personality, right? What is a personality? You guys know what a person? Does anybody here have a personality?
Hopefully.
Some don't. But when you think about personalities, you think about particular personal traits that define you in one way or another, that make you unique and different. Have you ever heard, it's like, oh, this coffee machine has a personality? Right? It's a different kind of thing. What you mean by that is special in some way or another, right? Have any of you seen the Lego movie? Yes? You have children. Well, in the Lego movie, you see, like, the guy doesn't have a personality. That's the problem, that the guy doesn't have a personality. Now, do we want to create personalities? How do we create a personality? How do we create friendly personalities that are amicable enough but not cheesy, that are appealing to the people that we are, to everybody, right? As opposed to just a few people. So those are part of the complexity of human-like traits in dealing with needy human beings with artificial intelligence. And it's all about perception. So is this personality, is this human emotion real? It's all about perception. It's all fake. We're not generating real feelings. We're not making the machines understand exactly how you feel. We're just making detect how you feel and react to that. And as Savita also said before, what comes to mind when you say AI? What do people think? What have we been trained to think when we think about really advanced AI? These guys, all very friendly. It's like the termination of humanity is catastrophic. They have this volition to destroy us. They are, I don't know, have you seen Ex Machina? Yeah?
Yes.
Lovely, right? So when you think about the advancement of AI and you see this in your television, in your movies, in your books and everything, you can't really help but thinking about a future that is dreadful and fearful, right? So what is our job as people that know AI, that think about AI? Could we just, let society think that AI is bad? Is it bad? Do you guys think it's bad?
It's as good as the person that made it.
It's as good as the person that made it. That implies that it's still so limited in terms of its evolution. Is that really true?
Well, eventually it'll be self-learning.
So eventually,
It's up to the purpose it is used. So up to the purpose it is used.
say that again?
It's up to the purpose it is used.
Or the
Whether it's
purpose
for
of
a good or
it is,
evil.
unless it evolves by itself, right? And it makes its own determination. And when we talk about these nuances, about volition, about meaning, about wanting, what is that? How would you define the science that studies all those things?
Psychology.
Humanity.
It's actually philosophy,
Oh.
right? Who would have thought that philosophy had a role in artificial intelligence? Psychology and cognitive science had a role in understanding how the human mind works. What makes us tick and what doesn't. But philosophy tells us which way do we need to go and why? What fulfills me or what doesn't? What do I believe? What are my values? What is right or wrong? She said before, when you have a self-driving car, it has to be 100% right. Are we human drivers 100% right? Far from that, right? And one of the challenges that we have is like, okay, situation A or situation B, the typical philosophical problem of who did you kill, right? That's right. Did you turn the wheel and kill 5 people? Or did you stay where you are and kill the child? What is the right thing to do? What would a human being do? I don't know. It depends on the human being, depends on the child, depends on the 5 people. It depends on how quick you have to react. There are so many factors. You cannot possibly tell AI this is the right thing to do. Now, what do we do? Is there an algorithm that is going to tell us what the right thing to do is there? Is this the future of AI robotics? I see some happy faces there. I see some, that's interesting. It's interesting. Or is this the future? Like we're going to be fighting, competing against robotics and AI. Is that the society that we're looking to build? Is that where we're going necessarily, or are we driving there? Is this just like, do we have the inertia of whatever things are happening, or do we have some level of control over where we're going and where artificial intelligence is going? Because there are very many fantastic things that artificial intelligence can help us with, and we saw a bunch of them. Actually, it can bring around a world of abundance, right? It can make us have better lives, better quality of life, can create more jobs. It can destroy more jobs. Mm-hmm. There are so many things that AI can do for us, but there are some trade-offs, right? Well, where do we have the power? In the cloud or in the edge? You want things to be personalized. You want things to be just for you. That means that you have to let me peek into your life. And that comes with maybe forfeiting your privacy. So how much do you want me to know about you? It depends on how much you want me to know that I can personalize the services.
And how can I or anybody else use that data? How much do you know about what they know about you? How about cross-referencing all the data from all the different parts of your life? Where is the law, the regulation, the government in all this? Is the government usually ahead of technology? You think? Yeah. Some governments think that science doesn't matter, so it's hard to believe that we're going to go ahead of that. So the concept of agency. When you have one of these virtual assistants in your home, the virtual assistant is built by a company, and then the company has partners and customers who provide you a service. But it's your virtual assistant that knows about you. Now, when this virtual assistant is making a recommendation, on behalf of whom is making the recommendation? Is it in your best interest? Is it in the best interest of the partner? Is it in the best interest of the maker? A combination thereof? Who's watching out for your best interest? Do we know? Do you know? Security. You share all this information is somewhere, it's hackable, right? So security becomes super important because all of a sudden, your life is exposed, your identity is exposed, your vulnerabilities are exposed. So it's key. Trust and delegation. You know me very well. You know everything, every aspect of my life. Can I delegate some decisions about my life on you? If I want to go and buy a mattress, I do my research. If I want to go buy a car, I do my research. Now, can I have one of these assistants do the research for me based on what my friends buy, what my partner buys, what I like, how often do I go to bed, or how much do I sleep? Can I delegate those decisions based on how much they know about me and the learning of millions of people who have already provided feedback about that? Policy, like I said before, is the government usually ahead or behind this technological advancements? The data bias, that one I love because it's a logical conundrum, right? What is the fuel of artificial intelligence? Data. And who generates the data? People. And people are completely unbiased. So, therefore, the data will be cleaned so that artificial intelligence can learn unbiased things. All right. Okay. How do we clean the data from bias?
More people.
Who are unbiased. So,
different types of filtering of the data.
Yeah.
To get the
Yeah. Steaming. So, have you heard about the bot that Microsoft built and launched and became the bigot and racist? It's like in a matter of weeks they had to disconnect it because, Okay. Amazon a few years ago built yet another AI that was going to take away discrimination, gender discrimination when hiring. It turns out that the algorithm was more biased than anybody else in Amazon. They had to take it. So, there are many challenges, but challenges that if you think about them, okay, you can at least make a decision, but if you don't know about them, you might be deceived or misled into believing that you can trust certain applications, certain services with no consequences whatsoever. And that drives you into fear. Something I don't know, something that is beyond my control, something that I don't understand. Archimedes said once, give me a lever long enough and a fulcrum on which to place it, and I shall move the world. How can that be translated into today's world? Give me enough quality data and enough processing power, which NVIDIA will bring. AI will do anything and everything for you. Right? That's the new axiomatic concept that you're taking away from here. Now you have the power. You AI people, you have been illuminated with the AI knowledge. How much of the world do you think understands AI in depth? Zero. Yeah, that's very negative. No, but you think
Yeah, I have an anecdote that when I started my first company, this company that I sold to Intel, some of the programs that we were doing were about home systems, home control, right? So we created a virtual assistant that could basically control things in your house. Now I go to my aunt, my father's sister, and she says, so what does your company do? And I said, well, we have a virtual butler that, turn things on, turn things off for you. And she goes, huh, in my house? I was like, yeah, huh. And then I go evil. And I said, but you have to be really polite and nice, because otherwise, if he gets upset, he will turn the lights off on you, he will lower your blinds when you don't want him to. She was completely freaked out. She was like, oh my goodness, what are you working on? But she didn't even hesitate to think that was just a joke. Why? Because there is fear, because people don't understand, because people don't know what we're talking about. They just see the movies, they see the books, they hear all these wonderful things, they hear about all this AI that now can beat people at chess and all these other super complex games that people find very, very hard. So it becomes like an opaque idea that is fearful, right? So what is our superpower? Understanding AI, foreseeing what's coming, understanding what can and cannot be done, right? But as Voltaire said, with great power comes great responsibility. And there are several terms, but you were all thinking Spider-Man. I know you people. But it's actually true. So what do you do with that superpower, with that knowledge? You empower others. You use your knowledge, you use your influence to change your circles. And some of those circles will be technical circles of other people that can actually know, understand, and get involved in AI. And some of those circles will be like my aunt or other generations or other people in our lives that have nothing to do with technology, and it's like the farthest thought in their minds, and they have no idea how it works or how much it can do or how dangerous it can be. So use that power. Use that power. And why would you use that power? Because if we want society to go in the right direction where AI is actually AI for good, then we have to be the engines behind that. We have to be the ones directing that. Stephen Hawking said that intelligence is the ability to adapt to change. Has society changed already? Is it changing? Can you see it coming? So I would say that our general intelligence as a society will be defined by our ability to adapt to what's coming, which is of our own making. We are creating this thing now. How are we able, as a society, consisting of individuals, able to drive this train, which is unstoppable? I mean, the train is here. Things are changing. What are we going to do to basically drive it in the right direction? Is the solution to limit it, to cut it, to kill it? Like Dali, Spanish, said, intelligence without ambition is like a bird without wings. We want to do more. We want to know more. We want to create, expand, use your imagination. But we have to also be careful. We have to know where we're going. The power is not only on how fast you move or how much strength you have behind. It's knowing where you're leading and where you're going, where you want to go. Because power without control is craziness. It doesn't take you where you want to be, right? And again, every aspect of human technology has a dark side. And in the middle of every difficulty, there's opportunity. We've heard before that now is the era of democratization of AI. AI is now available to everyone. You can access it. You can just buy any tiny little microchip for basically almost no money and create your own technology. You can learn for free. You can go online and learn about any aspect of machine learning. We live in a world that we have never seen like before, ever. We have a great opportunity to go in the right direction and create a world of prosperity. As a matter of fact, this is the best time to live. Now the question is, what are you going to do about it? That's it. Thank you.
That was amazing. We'll have Q&A session later, so save your questions. Wilson Farrar is one of the most dynamic, energetic, and passionate leaders I know. We like to call her by her nickname, Wing, because she likes to win, and she has been winning a lot. Wing started 2 technology companies and sold them, and she's a published writer, and she's the director of strategic partnership at the UiPath, a robotic process automation company, one of the fastest growing SaaS company in the world.
The fastest.
I'll let Wing tell us all about it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. So, Pilar, I think you teed it up so beautifully. I'd like to ask, how many of you, what can we do about it? You can start companies. So how many of you here have ever worked at a startup? How many of you have friends that have worked at startups? Yeah. And how many of you have started companies? Okay, a lot of people. And how many of you are thinking of starting another company? Okay, cool. I have a present for anyone at the end who's thinking of starting another company.
Live from Miami Beach, Florida, it's theCUBE, covering UiPath Forward Americas. Brought to you by UiPath.
Welcome back to Miami, everybody. You're watching theCUBE, the leader in live tech coverage. I'm Dave Vellante with my co-host Stu Miniman. We got all the action going on behind us. We are seeing the ascendancy of robotic process automation, software robots. One of the leaders in that industry, one of the innovators, Daniel Dinez is here. He's the founder and CEO of UiPath. Hot off the keynote. Daniel, thanks for coming on theCUBE.
Thank you for inviting me.
Very welcome. So, the great setup here. The Fontainebleau in Miami is an awesome venue for a conference this size, about 1,500 people. In your keynote, you talked about your vision, and we want to get into that, but go back to why you started UiPath.
I started UiPath to have joy at work, to do what I like, and to build something big.
And you're a developer, right? I mean,
I'm a software engineer.
I can tell by the way you dress. Developer CEO. Yeah. Okay. So, but you have a vision. You talked about a robot for every person.
Yeah.
You mentioned Bill Gates, a PC for every person. I said a chicken for every pot, Harry Truman. What is that vision? Tell us about it.
Well, in our daily work, we do a lot of manual stuff, repetitive, boring stuff. That is not human. It's not human-like. Why not having this robot that we can talk to, we can command, and just do the boring stuff for us? I think it's no-brainer. We just didn't think it's possible. We showed with our technology this is possible, actually. This is an angle of automation that people didn't think it was possible before.
Wow. So I neglected to congratulate you on your early success. I mean, you said one of your tenets is you're humble. So you got a lot of work to do. We understand that. But you've raised over $400 million to date. You just had a giant raise. We had Carl Eschenbach on in our Palo Alto studios. He was one of the guys in the round. So that's confirmation that this is a big market. We've pegged it at around $1 billion today, 10x growth by 2023. So very impressive growth potential. What's driving that growth?
It's all from the customers. When they see it working, it's a wow. It's what they won't go back to the same way of delivery work. It's changing how people really work. You see people becoming joyful when we show them the robotic and they say, I don't need to do this stuff anymore. Wow. Imagine people doing the same reports every day, going through hundreds of pages, clicking the same. This is nirvana.
And we saw Customers United Health was on stage.
That's nirvana. Okay. So Daniel is from Romania. Again, not what you might think of a technology hub in the world. He spent some time at Microsoft. Daniel's the guy, if you can see the picture, he's the guy with the red around him. He's holding a racket. He rules with a racket, tennis racket. Really, just a great guy. How many of you have heard of RPA before today? Okay, so yeah, one, my boyfriend in the back, a couple more people. So RPA stands for Robotics Process Automation, and it's sort of the underpinning of AI machine learning. What can you do with AI machine learning? So you have all this information, you have all this knowledge, what do you actually do with it? What Daniel's done is he's taken the simple tasks that we do every day and he's taken it out of your daily job. So he's taken the robot out of the human. So he started the company back in 2008. Nothing happened for about 8 years, seemingly nothing happened. It was 2 guys in Romania in their room. Anybody go through that? Up through that? Yeah, everybody. You are, of course. Now today we have over 2,400 employees. I joined a year ago. I was employee number 300. We have offices around the globe. We have most of the Fortune 500 are using our products. It's kind of amazing. What they're doing is they're taking menial jobs, menial things that you don't want to do and taking it out. So we really focus on process automation. It's really down at the basics of the company, process automation. That's across virtually any kind of business unit at all that you can imagine, whether you're doing finance and accounting, sales and fulfillment, human resources, you're doing procure to pay or processing invoices. So it's not as sexy as some of the AI stuff that we've been talking about, but it's amazing the impact that we've been having. We have a goal that every person will have a robot on their desktop, that we can minimize the sort of boring or mundane. How many of you here ever cut data from a spreadsheet, put it in ERP? Yeah, everybody. And you're wondering, why am I doing this? Like, I get paid way too much to do this, but you don't want to do it. We're developing a very open and free and collaborative platform. So RPA with AI sitting on top, machine learning on top of that. RPA is going to go out and talk. It talks to all the different software packages that would allow you to, again, change the way that we do work. Does anybody want to know about the structure of the software? Is that interesting to anybody? Yeah? Okay. Okay, good. Thanks. So the software itself is pretty simple in terms of its components. There are 3 components. One is the UiPath Studio, and that's where you actually program the bots. And what's nice about it is then the bots don't make mistakes because they're not human. There's the orchestrator, which is where you manage the bots. And then the 2 different kinds of bots. There's a front office bot and a back office bot. So back office bot is something that you would have managed by orchestrator. You would set it up to run. So say you were processing invoices and you had difficulty reading them, you would plug in an OCR component, so an ABI component. It would read the information put it into the system, and there would be no errors or very few errors. So you're reducing your error rate, you're reducing your time to run. It's also great for auditing because everything's trailed, everything's tracked. And then the front office bot is something that you would have on your desktop. So you would say, I don't want to do this task, you hit a button, we can do the task for you. So RPA is continually evolving. We're doing things now where we're actually having drag and drop intelligence. You can take a module and put it into the RPA software package, the software platform, and it will learn how to do certain things. So certainly OCR is one, voice recognition is another. We're doing some really exciting stuff. All of a lot of our technologists are up in Washington. I was just there with a lot of Microsoft people that we have. And do you want to see a demo?
KYC, or Know Your Customers, refers to due diligence activities that financial institutions and other regulated companies perform to prevent them from being used by criminal elements for money laundering activities. UiPath solution automates the onboarding and monitoring process of KYC for legal entities by using reliable, independent source documents, data, and information about the clients registered in UK and France. This is a tedious and manual activity, requiring special attention in obtaining very accurate results. The changes and updates to regulations in this area generate an increase in the volume of work, requiring rapid FTE ramp-up. Based on minimum client data, client name, client type, and risk and geographic criteria provided by the user in the search screen. The robot creates the client folder structure where the documents will be saved or downloaded. It then identifies the right checklist of necessary documents and copies them into the results folder and on-screen presentation. Based on the client's country of incorporation, the robot identifies the web page where the registration data must be searched for, in this case, France, reads and extracts the relevant data, takes a screenshot for auditing, and finally types the results in the dedicated screen.
So we could go on with this. I just want to show you what RPA looks like. You're taking a process, you're making it a whole lot faster, a lot more reliable, and you're making it auditable. So if you want to see the rest of the video afterwards, I'd be happy to show you. But I want to see what's amazing to me is that you're taking something so basic, basically accelerating the way we do our work, and our company has just grown phenomenally. And as you mentioned, we've raised close to $500 million. Our market cap is close to $7 billion right now. And Daniel Dinas, who 4 years ago was asking himself what he was going to do in Romania, two guys sitting in a room, 2-bedroom condo. Now he's worth $1 billion. We were just up in Seattle, and he's eyeing $3 to $5 million condos. But what is most important, and what Daniel said to all of us last night, was he said that he thinks that his legacy is actually going to be the culture of the company. So, how many of you caught why did Daniel Dinas start the company?
Let's have fun.
He wants to have fun. He wants to have fun. He wants his employees to be happy. So those are the things that we actually talk about at UiPath, and we do have a lot of fun. There are a bunch of use cases that we could go through just in terms of dollar amounts and things like that changed. I'm not going to get into too much detail. If you guys want to go over it afterwards, I'm happy to. But suffice to say, the ROI is just mind-blowing. And when Daniel said that this is growing so fast because of the customers, it's because they're seeing just what's out there and what's available. I was at HP 2 days ago and had a call. They called me up today. They're like, they just want to roll it out and put it every single department. PwC is putting a bot on every single person's desktop. All their auditors, it's going on every single desktop. It's limitless. It's truly just unlimited. So NASA, we're helping them with mundane tasks so that they can, I like to think that we can help them send rockets to space. It's not the way that AI is doing it in terms of something super exciting, oh my gosh, but it's cool because we're helping them do business better. We're actually solving problems that they have. The Panama Canal, we helped them with a project where they were trying to figure out, what was the best way to get the ships through. Which ship did you want to send before another ship? And then in Japan, this is our company president in Japan. Whoops, let's get that to run. Or maybe it's not.
My name is Koichi Hasegawa. I'm a Japan CEO of UiPath. I believe in this technology. This technology, RPA, UiPath, can change man.
Yeah. So Koichi-san joined us 2 years ago. He had a consulting background. He worked at Accenture. He has done such an amazing job over there. In fact, we were saying last night, we were talking about where our revenue was coming from in the world. And we were saying, a third from here, 20% from Japan. And Koichi got up and he said, oh, that was incorrect. And Japan's tiny. He said, we have 23.5% revenue coming out of Japan, of the whole country, of the whole world. And, we're doing, quite a bit of revenue. But what's fascinating about Japan, what I find so compelling about that use case is that Japan is facing a challenge of a workforce that is getting older. They don't have people coming in that they can actually train fast enough to do the work. So people are working incredibly long hours. They're getting depressed. So they're also moving. The government's moving to put a robot on everybody's desktop, and so that people can go home earlier. They can spend time with their loved ones. I think that is so cool. It's not, what is the robot taking away from me? It's what is the robot giving to me? And these bots are, of course, all on software. But I find that, super compelling that it's going to help people spend more time with their family. World's largest bank. Same thing. I was going to mention. So Koichi-san has done, in 2 years, we have over 900 customers in Japan. Phenomenal. The growth is just incredible. He has went from 1 person to 250 people, just exploding. Okay, so Daniel is true to his dream, and I'm true to mine, and I'll talk a little bit about myself now. But someone said something about the impossible is possible. Did you say that? Who said the impossible is possible? Yeah, NVIDIA, okay. Of course. Okay, so here am I on the left. That's when I was little, and now I'm all grown up. When I was young, I was like always told that I couldn't do things. I mean, not so much by my parents, they were encouraging. My mother would say, oh, you knew you could do anything. But like the University of Vermont, which it took me 3 tries to get into the University of Vermont because I wanted their business program so badly. They kept telling me, if you apply the liberal arts, we'll let you in. And I said, no, it has to be the business program. Anybody have a first choice school that they didn't get into? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, okay. Yeah. So if you guys all got into your first choice schools, good for you. I didn't. When I finally got into the school after 3 tries, I realized that I hated the liberal arts program, excuse me, the business program, and I did want the liberal arts. So I learned a lot. I mean, I sacrificed like my first year at the college for that. Midnight Networks. So I was with an MIT startup. It was going really well. I was out here managing the whole West Coast, crushing it. But I was so bored. I was just bored out of my skull. Anybody get bored out of work? Like, why am I here? What am I doing? So a couple of these guys, this guy here, Peter Schmidt, these guys, they were all MIT grads as well. And I had worked with them at a previous company, the company I was with. And they said, hey, we're going to start this company. And you're going to be the VP of Sales and Marketing. You'll be on the board of directors. You'll have stock. You have to write a small check, okay? But we really want you to come, and now is the time. We're ready for you. Now is the time. At the same time, Cisco called me, and they said, hey, we saw what you did up at Boeing, and we want you, and we're going to hire you, and we're going to give you all this money, and you can get a new car, and you can get new clothes, and you can do all these things, like all these material things. So I had to choose between like starting this company with a couple guys that had never started a company before versus going to Cisco and making all this money. So I told my employer that I was going to quit because I wanted to go and start a company or go to Cisco. And they said, look, you can't quit. You got to stay. I said, no, I'm quitting. That's it. I'm quitting. They said, well, listen, whatever you do, don't go to the startup company. They said, go to Cisco and make all this money. And they said, if you go to the startup company, you have a snowball's chance in hell of succeeding. So like that to me was like catnip. I was like, all right, I am going to go do that thing that you said I couldn't do. So we started the company, and 3 years later, Teradyne approached us. They wanted to buy us. I wanted to keep on going, and I wanted to go public. I mean, we did automated testing systems for networking vendors. This is the predecessor to a lot of this automation that we're doing now. Anyway, my co-founders wanted to sell, so I didn't get to go public with them, but we sold the company. It was great, and I did get a new car. This is my horse. I had to put my horse in there because I added this last minute. This is the benefit of going last because I loved your slide so much. This is my horse, Scooter. I did a lot of stuff over at Stanford working with entrepreneurs from around the globe for our Chinese friends. Sheshe. I don't know where the camera is. Sheshe. Thank you. I'm so glad I'm here. These guys were from Singapore. They were from all over the world, Eastern Europe. And they used to say that one of the challenges that they faced was that they knew if they made a mistake, like their career would be over, that it would be such a black mark on them. And we don't really experience that here in the US. And I think other countries, they're experiencing less. I actually started something called Ask Silicon Valley, and I would do video conferencing around the globe with countries that were trying to establish entrepreneurial programs. And I wanted to do it because I feel that there's something inside all of us that unites us, and it's this spirit to do whatever we want. I mean, for me, it's, ask my boyfriend. He can't control me. I'm going to do whatever I want, right? So it's that sense of, what drives you? Like, what drives you to start a company? It's because you want to do it. You just have this fire burning in you. So, Scooter and I used to have lots of events and stuff like that. I bring entrepreneurs up, and we would talk about the dreams that people had. And, everybody has a different dream. So if you're interested in AI or RPA, I mean, it is a phenomenal, amazing industry, and you should go for it. But if your interest is in something else, then you should go for that. And I think that this is an opportunity to explore, to hear about NVIDIA and no. But it's an opportunity to hear about all different companies and what we're doing, and then decide what you want to do. I did a business accelerator. That was a lot of fun too, working with companies, big sizes, small sizes, just on, again, getting to the truth about what people were trying to do and helping them figure out how to do it. But things that I never thought I could do or never imagined before. So now I'm continuing imagining. Okay, this is from the book that I wrote called I Am Scooter the Invincible Horse, a book for all the freedom-loving creatures. And it's just, from my heart to yours, it's that anything is possible. Okay, Dan Venus. So now this is Marie Myers. She's our CFO. Let's see if I can get this guy. I love this guy.
Joe Edwards here, product marketing department at UiPath, having the time of my life, favorite job of all time. Extremely grateful to be here among so many other people working to accelerate human achievement.
See, I think that's really cool when you think about, again, what can you do with bots? What can you do with all this automation? It's to help accelerate human achievement. What do you want to do? Oh, here he is. This guy, remember that? I was going to go with that one.
My name is Harold Harris. I'm an IT system specialist at UiPath, and my motto is each one teach one.
What does that mean?
That means everyone should be able to spread their knowledge, their gift of whatever things that they have that is special to them, and to give it to others.
Yeah, to give it to others. So, each one of you in this room has something that you're offering in one way or another, whether it's leading the company, whether it's joining the company. I talked to all kinds of people recently about it that were involved in AI. I was actually going to do a big vignette, but I thought it was too long. But I talked to the secretaries that came in. I talked to, the guys on the loading dock. I talked to the engineers. I talked to the head of technology. I talked to our CEO. AI is so broad. Machine learning, RPA, it's so broad. It's like if you want to be with one of these companies, go with one of these companies. You know that you can do whatever you want. That's my message to you. Okay, I know this is kind of funny.
Hi, I'm Maureen. I'm recruiting for the Bellevue office. I need the possibility of getting to be here in Americans, and I believe
It's possible for everyone to do
My name is Maureen Hu. I'm a new recruiting coordinator at UiPath.
So, the spirit is real. You can do whatever you want in AI, machine learning, RPA. We would all love to talk to you and answer your questions. But the message is dream big. Just go for it. Think of Daniel Gines. Think of all the people that started a company and something happened that they didn't even anticipate. So, thank you.
Now let's bring all the speakers to the stage. We'll have a Q&A. Yeah. That's amazing.
Okay.
So anybody who have questions regarding?
Yeah, just
Go ahead. Yeah.
Hi, this was a really wonderful session. I'm so glad I made it. I've learned so many acronyms today, so much of what's happening. And I'm really, it's reassuring to know that there are such smart, talented women who are leading the AI. And I'm not paid by the LA Piper. My question was more towards the ethics. I'm interested in it because it was part of my PhD proposal. And I had worked on multi-billion-dollar initiatives in corporate. But my fear, if you will, is given that so far corporations have been so eager to maximize shareholder value, which is a highly misplaced purpose of a corporation, where is the boundary for the company, right? And my thesis would go further into can humans compete, but I want to ask the panel, while you're developing all this smart technology and that, I mean, where do we put the boundaries? And I'll leave that broad enough so I get all of you can choose to answer it.
So there are different companies with different philosophies, right? Right now I work for Roku, a wonderful company. You know about getting Rokus. But before that I worked for Amazon. And Amazon is humongous. It's like the biggest company ever, right? But the ethics of the company are also very strong. So the motto is not to maximize shareholder value, it's to maximize the user, the customer, the client. That's always the key. And as an executive of the company, I can tell you that that's the way the company operated inside and out. Right? Does that mean that every company in the world does the same thing? No, absolutely not. Does that mean that we can't just, rely on them doing the right thing? Absolutely not. One of the points that I was trying to make, I think that hopefully the most important point is that we all have to have a voice. But in order to have a voice, we have to know what we're talking about. It's all about education, information, understanding. Having a position is qualified. Because you can say, I'm in favor or I'm against, but if you don't know what you're talking about, then why would you have a position? If all you know is the book that you read or the movie that you saw. Understand what you're talking about. Teach others what you know about AI. Become involved, not necessarily only as an engineer or as a lead of an AI company. As a user, have an opinion. Because AI affects everybody and anyone. It's here to stay. As a user, as a company, as a service provider, as anything, AI is going to be part of your life. So you better understand it and actually use your voice to make sure that society understands, that government understands, and that we create the tools to basically self-control ourselves. I would say that that's key.
Yeah, and I would say, spot on. Be careful, what company you choose. And I mean, the company you work for, but also the company that you keep and, how you behave online. So if you're really concerned about it, in an anecdote, I was flying up to Seattle yesterday and I sat next to the woman who is in charge of AI for Visa, worldwide AI and data. And she had offers from other large companies, that we've all used, most of us, Facebook, LinkedIn, all this. And she said she refused to go and work for them because she didn't like what they were going to do with her data, with their data, our data. So she, talked about if you really want to stand tall, then delete your Facebook account. Think twice about some of those other social medias. But choose who you keep your company with. So for me, like working at UiPath, I work there because I work for a man who talks about humility. He talks about joy in the workforce. Those things are very important to me. So I love the people I work with. I get excited to go to work.
Yeah, I completely agree with my two fellow colleagues here in the sense that we have to be participants in this discussion. And it can't be a conversation where we are just assuming things without having the knowledge or understanding, or just assuming based on what we watch on the movies or something like that. Of course, anything we do, we have to ask those right questions. We have to question it. We have to be skeptic about it. But then at the same time, we have to be understanding enough to embrace it. Think about many years back, there were cars. People were against cars because we were used to riding horses, right? And there were accidents, there were many things that happened. But then see, so many years hence, that we have embraced cars and they become part of us. But then we have to have right policies in place so that it doesn't take a wrong turn. So, and I think it's the people here and all of us who have to drive to that decision. In fact, we have to push our governments that they do some kind of data privacy and regulation. There has to be some kind of oversight in terms of we never know what company or organization is going to use our data which way. I think we have to push for that. As a citizen, we have to ask for those things. We see a lot of regulation happening in Europe. Why not here in the United States? And I think that's the conversation we as citizens have to have. We can't burden all that from the for-profit companies that they will do the right thing and they will not. So as employees working there, we have to have that voice again. If we see something wrong, we have to raise our hand and say that this is wrong and we have to fix it. So
I have the second part about questioning, and I will take it further to education systems. And that's why you see Andrew Ng even leading the Baidu team, the Baidu AI team, the Google team. He left to start 3 companies. And deep learning.ai is related to education, right? And landing.ai is related to starting AI projects for big enterprises. And he wants to set a standard to make sure that these similar activities out there there is actually a way to be able to use the right data and do the right thing. And I have to share with the folks online in China. I studied in China and the US. From the education system perspective, in China, you will learn to say, this is great, memorize this, and this is what it means. And for example, all of us, whoever is Chinese, the poem that you memorize, like 举头望明月，低头思故乡, like write the most famous poem like everyone in China would know, and you're asked to memorize it exactly verbatim, why that's good. But in US, you come here, you will be given a poem and say, what do you think about that? Right? And similar concept, and that's why a lot of the, like in China, people are taking AI as a country level priority. They want to change the way people are thinking. They want to bring in that part where you're questioning things, question every data you're getting, question all the technology you're getting into human nature. So we all get to question, what are we getting right now? Simple thing, right? For example, if you're going to train a neural network to see if this man wearing a dress, is that appropriate or not? I know all of you guys what you guys are thinking, because there's a society standard, right? But in different cultures, that might be different, right? So how do you make sure that we have the right enough talent in the right room to make the right decision? Is we have to really question this.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think I'm sure many of us here are going to hire people. We are going to be part of the teams. So we have to push for this agenda to have a diverse group of people coming together so that the perspectives, whether they are women or people of color or people of different backgrounds and ethnicities, are represented, and so that we don't push and marginalize some set of people because we didn't think about it. And I think we already have enough instances with recruiting, with how AI can play a part in terms of even the governments being selected. So I think we have to be very careful about that, but at the same time, we have to have an open mind to accept it and see how best we can use this tool to enhance our capabilities as humans.
Yeah. You touched upon something as well in terms of hiring women or a different ethnicity, or harking back to the conversation I had with a woman from Visa, because we saw it so much the same. You can say we need more women, or we need, we want to hire veterans. We think veterans are great. Wouldn't it be nice if we hired vets? Which would be very nice. But why is that important to hire those people? Why is it important to hire women? It's not just because we're women. It's because we have a different perspective, and the perspective is necessary. So the veterans, Visa, they're hiring lots of veterans because they find that they have skills that nobody else has. They're also hiring mothers that are returning from work to look at user interface because the mothers have a different perspective on things. They've been toting children around. They've been out. They've been experiencing different things. So they have a perspective that's valuable. So when we talk about women or vets or whatever the group is, look for what the value is and say, do we need that value? And then look at the individual and say, does that individual have the values that we need to bring in?
That's excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I have a question. I'm super excited that also AI can, do all these boring jobs that I hate.
Yeah.
But one day, say, the trucks will drive itself. Someday 4 million American truck drivers will lose their jobs. How do we give these people a better life? I'm talking about the people who are making robots, they'll profit from this. And how do we, lift the whole human race up?
I'll take that one first. I mean, that comes up all the time, especially when you're talking about automating stuff. I mean, even though it's software, but we're automating. I mean, sure, some people's jobs are impacted. Mostly what I see is I meet people that are so relieved that they don't have to do the same tedious task all the time. It's typically not the entire part of their job, but they're just, it takes them 3 hours to gather information to put a letter out and do it repeatedly. And now it takes them, 3 minutes. The process, that's run by a bot that they're not even doing anymore. So, we used to fear things like, I'm sure our great grandmothers thought a vacuum cleaner was going to put them out of work, or a dishwasher, or something that was going to wash their clothing. I mean, it is human nature to iterate. It is human nature to progress. And so we progress. And as we progress, if we take away, some of these activities, we are then, we have the time to dream more. We have the time to be more creative. We have the time to focus more and imbue that into our work. So then our work embodies not the mundane, not the monotonous, but something better than that,
And the thing is, that this is the AI or the automation is going to happen. It's already here. You can't change the course, or you can't completely negate it, right? The question is, how do you better use it, right? And I think that's why the policies have to be in place. The education system has, as Renee mentioned, there has to be a way to incorporate that so that the people are skilled, or at least their skill set is brought to a level so that they can take on some other jobs. That's happened with automation in farming. We all used to be one-time farmers or something, right? And we have slowly and over time progressed into different activities. And as these things are going to get automated, what will be really important, and I think there has been a lot of conversation about, is the skills, the human skills we need, because these intelligent machines are not going to have the emotions or things which we humans need, the connection, ability to connect with each other emotionally and have those soft skills. So I think those skill sets are going to be very, very important. And I think those people who are trying to come into the workforce don't think that they are not important. Soft skills are going to be very critical in you to be successful as in our careers. So I think that applies to all of us.
Yeah, I'd like to add that when the internet came along, people said, this is the end. All the work, all the jobs are going to go. Well, according to McKinsey study, 2.6 jobs were created for every job that was lost, let's say. Jobs don't disappear, they're not destroyed, they're transformed. We create new jobs, we create new ways. And it is true that if you say, well, I'm going to create a self-driving truck, and then that's going to create a number of specialized jobs to take care of, build the truck, do whatever with the truck. It's not going to be the truck driver that is skilled to actually do that. That's why policy comes in place, like Savita was saying. We need to prevent that from happening. We already know that that's going to happen. So what are the policies? How do we create the protections? How we avoid in the transition between the world today and the world of tomorrow? When there is always a revolution, there's always communities that are more vulnerable than others. So it's up to us to make sure that we foresee which ones are the most vulnerable communities and create programs and create ways that avoid having casualties of war in this case. For every big step in progress is usually a revolution. For every revolution there is change. We as a society, human beings, fear change. But if we embrace it and we take the bull by the horns, I'm Spanish. We have the power. We have the power to do this. So let's think together about the solutions and put the right things in place to avoid that.
And new industries will come. That's the way to solve it. New industries, new economies.
I really want to add to it. Before we get to
I
your
have a question for Pilar.
I just want to say, I don't know if you guys know, but for example, truck drivers and the ones that are taking out your trash, there's a documentary. Apparently, those guys are taking all your trash every week, right? They get paid 6 figures on an annual basis. That's how much they get paid because no one wants to do their job, but it's a necessary job.
And they only work 3 hours a day.
Yeah,
That's true.
So
That's a good job.
So it's, for example, and then there's another actually documentary interviewing the truck drivers. So they said, well, it's okay. We are now actually already on Coursera. We're listening to classes. We're building new skills. So to her point of internet coming along, we're all building new skills. To be completely honest, even working at NVIDIA, I'm fearful that 10 years I don't have a job because I see this every day, right? So what do? I do two things. One is I'm gonna figure out what the next startup I'm gonna do.
We'll talk.
Yeah, a bunch of money, sell it. Don't worry about all this AI thing. I just need to have enough money to live my life. That's great. The second thing is figure out the job for the next 5 to 10 years that's gonna involve the most people. If this is a job that's automatable or tedious or something that you don't want to do, don't do that. Go figure something out that's going to have more people. And that is actually why I decided to become a product manager. In the future, I want to be a CEO of a company. Before you can manage a company, you need to manage a product. And why a product management role is so important, according to many of the CISO in the Valley, because product managers, you have to work with engineers, you have to work with designer, you have to work with marketing folks, you have to go talk to customers, you guys have to go to market, you have to figure out the entire market. What is that? That's people. That's why I made a conscious decision to make this role, and I did every single step in my previous role to make sure I'm successful in this role. So I would just encourage everyone, if you have that fear in you, figure out either you make a ton of money, you don't have to worry about it, figure out a job that has the most people.
But always buy a video.
You and us.
We go public.
So whether you are in a big company or you're starting a company, what should be the value system one has to have in terms of users' privacy? I'll give you 4 different scenarios. One is to protect at all situations, you don't share the data. Second, protect when there is no crime only, crime reported, then you share the data. Third situation is protect all situations except certain crimes. Fourth is victim is not coming forward, you should share the data. So I'm just giving an example as like there are some cases where it happens and government wants the data. Will you give the data to the government if you are a startup or a big enterprise? What's the value system one has to have if you are in a big organization or you're starting a company? Just thoughts from me.
So when you start a company, you should have a doctrine of what you believe, and you should stick to that. And I'm going to curse here, so please forgive me, or somebody forgive me. Our CEO, Daniel Dinas, he says he has a principle, no assholes at the company. Because whoever is in the company is going to set those policies. And so you have to know who those people are. So we were meeting today, we're talking about how big the company's getting, and people are concerned. Who's going to come into the company? What kind of rules are they going to make? What's going to happen? So you have to start from the top, and you have to have a set of principles, and you have to stick to them. But you guys, I'm sure, understand.
The data privacy perspective is a very gray area in many ways, right? That's one of the examples that I was given before. What's the right thing to do, right? And what's right for you might not be right for me, and might not be right for her. And there might be like 3 or 4 or 5 or 100 different opinions here. Now the question is, how do we come together as a society to come to rules that we all can live with? And chances are that we're not all going to be in agreement, because the gray areas are precisely gray areas. Like we're all happy that we have the law to protect us to some extent, and then you hear, some case about this particular person somewhere that did this thing, and you're outraged, and yet it's the law, and we cannot commit it to that. I don't think that there is a case or a rule that fits every single case. I think that the good thing to have, I personally have my own set of values. And what I did learn about building my own company was that you have to draw the red lines before you're about to make that decision. Because at the point that you have to make a decision, there are so many things influencing your way that thinking clearly is really hard. And you might be crossing a line that you never thought you would. So draw those lines you draw before you're even in the position to ever make that decision. And make sure you stick to those, whatever those red lines are. That's my golden rule.
Yeah, and the challenge becomes when you talk about the law, who makes the law? People.
AI.
Yeah. AI either, but people. You guys want to comment on that, or you want to next question?
No, I kind of agree with what has been already told, in the sense that, definitely it is a gray area, but it has to come down to a point where the value systems comes early on. Whoever is building the company, if you're a startup, like you have to have certain values, you have to have some mission, goals, and objectives which are clearly outlined. I like the idea that like when Apple took a stand about someone asking them about providing the information about some crime, I don't remember, and they said,
Apple
no,
said
we can't provide you that information because that is not what we are in a business of selling a phone or something. We are not here to sell someone's data.
Tim Cook likes to say, your privacy is your right.
Yes, and that came from Steve Jobs because he was a private person and he understood the value what the privacy has. And now, I think those kind of values have to come down and someone has to stick to that. But then we also have to question ourselves, when I put an Alexa in my home and I put it everywhere, my husband is a private person, but then he got all these devices and they are all over the place. So we are giving our own privacy and we have to understand where that boundary is. What is that we want to give and what are we getting in return? So I think that trade-off has to be also made at an individual level. Now, I know that many people deleted Facebook after the whole thing. I have been in that dilemma that whether I should delete my Facebook or not. But I am questioning because the thing is my network is there. Even though they are taking away some part of my information, I'm willing to do that because I don't want to get away from my people network. So I think that's what I think she was saying, that it's such a gray area. It's individual who has to draw the line, or the company at that level has to draw a line as to what needs to be done.
I think it gets back to what Pilar was saying earlier, which is knowledge. So you have to know your own heart and know your own mind, and then know who you're dealing with, right? And you can't rely on AI or RPA or anything to tell you who you're dealing with. You have to make your own judgments. You have to use your own reason. You have to develop your own ability to think.
And it's actually a beautiful journey.
No, the reason why I asked the question is, if you go to the TOS of every single app, it's a freaking nightmare. You don't know what you're setting up.
Yeah.
No, that's true. And it's very hard for an individual to decipher what's happening because we didn't know what was happening on the back end. We were so naive to give away our information and so easily, even now, after knowing it, right? So it's a very tough question, and I don't know if at an individual level what else can.
And nobody reads these TOS. There was one study say, just do a test, and the first line says, I'm giving up my firstborn child. Like 98% of people say yes, because nobody reads that.
Yeah. It's and they make it harder and harder. I don't even understand. I try to read it. After all this happened, I couldn't get a sense of what it was written. After reading one paragraph, I got lost.
Startup.
Can there be an AI startup to analyze the TOS of different apps?
You could certainly. We have bots that go out and read and analyze for sure. That they can go out and look at all the different information and come back and then tell you what they gather the information. They're not doing tremendous analysis of it right now, but they will be doing more and more. We have things that you'll take a series of emails. You'll be able to tell, the bot will tell when the email comes in if it's a positive email or a negative email. It's looking what are the words in the email, making a judgment on what kind of email is this, and then it gets routed according to what the words were in the email.
Yeah, but the question is again, even if it's the automated system, someone is reading your email, which is very personal to you.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So the question is where you. Everyone sniffs through your data, your emails, and they know more about you than this person does. So I think this is a question for all of us. And as we are building, I'm sure there are a lot of entrepreneurs here who are thinking of building some companies. And this is something should be back of our minds. This phone is tracking me every time in what I say. So it's a scary idea, even for people who are proponents of AI and other technologies. So.
It's even more scary for AI people because you know exactly what's happening in the background. Now you think, please, if you ever go to a fast food chain, don't pay with your credit card.
Yeah, they would cash. I still get that cash. The Lyft driver was
some of you are getting the hint.
Yeah. Lyft driver was picking me up and on my phone it said that I was supposed to be someplace other than where I was. I didn't know Seattle very well. So this morning, flying back this afternoon. And I called him and I said, I think I'm in the wrong place. And he said, I can see you. I said, what do you mean you can see me? You don't even know what I look like because my picture is not in Lyft. I'm like, you cannot see me. And then I realized he saw me on the phone because they would have look here. So he knew where I was, knew I was half a block away.
I have a small comment on that. Going to the fast food center, I actually work in a mobile advertising company. Of that nasty business of tracking people.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay by credit card. The companies know that you're there. Just because you are there.
Yeah.
And they don't know what you bought.
They
But there are
do.
salads there.
No, they do. They're actually going to target you when you go into a Nordstrom. It will know what you bought in Nordstrom. It will know how much you spent over the past year. I mean, it will start even knowing that you, a year ago maybe bought some birthday presents or something. Like track that kind of thing. Yeah, that's very sophisticated, and it starts telling you things.
It's not only in terms of targeting, it could be more or less scary in terms of, okay, what kind of ads I'm gonna get, right?
Yeah.
It seems benign to a certain extent, right? If you
Yeah.
turn it off. But what if your application for a mortgage is based on your level of health, which is related to your ability to make the right financial decisions, which then again is how much you walk and what you eat.
Yeah.
How much of that do you want that known?
Just a comment on that. I mean, I had the good fortune of being able to study in London and live in Europe and experience that. Their ethics are way better than the US, unfortunately. We are the leading global leader right now. We have the hegemony after World War II, but having a capitalist attitude also gives us the worst ethics. Europe came out with GDPR. The same companies that get away with a lot of the anti-competitive stuff, they get punished heavily in Europe. So that's something that we can be better at as a country. And as we're growing and with AI exploding, that's where my essence of my angst is how can we prevent that from happening with such a capitalist attitude?
Yeah, I think it starts at home. It starts with you as an individual. You as an individual and how you talk to your friends and how you talk to your families and being true to yourself. I think, this political correctness is corrupting our society when people are so worried to call someone by a color or a gender or anything. And that's just an indication, but people aren't speaking their mind. You need to say what you think. And you may be surprised that other people think the same thing. And if they don't, you can still be friends and you can have a discussion, a reasonable discussion. But say what you think. Who's in the back there?
Oh, yeah. Hi. I just want to say thank you guys so much for the great presentation. I have a bunch of folks who will be the future data scientists and data analysts from San Jose State. I just want all my folks go home with your advice from a statistics background or applied math background. If they want to get in the field of AI, what kind of suggestion would you give to them, and what kind of skill set would you is preferred or needed for the industry right now? Thank you.
Yeah, great question.
So my advice would be a multidisciplinary approach to your education. There are going to be millions of engineers that are going to know what algorithms to use. There's TensorFlow, MXNet, frameworks everywhere for you to do all kinds of things. What's going to make you different? What's going to make you different is to know more, to have a broader view of the world, to understand humans, to understand the world, society as it is. In order to do that, you need to train yourself. You need to teach yourself. So my advice would be, of course, learn about machine learning, learn about AI, learn about all the, science behind that, but don't stop there.
Yeah, I would add to that, look at the course book and put a check mark by any course that is of interest to you. What do you want to do? So, there's a lot of fear about, where am I going to be? What's going to happen? All this guessing, and you may base your whole career on a wrong guess because you think that someday someone's not going to need this or they are going to need this. Figure out what you like. I mean, as Pilar said, you can do a very broad, a broad basis, but think about what you like to do. If you are interested in a certain field or look at the companies that you like to work, that you think you might like to work for, apply anyway. Even if you don't think you're qualified, apply. Be persistent, but really look at what you want to do. That's the most important thing. That's why I said wherever it leads you, that's where you should be. What is in your heart? What do you love to do? Because that's what you'll be the best at. That's what you'll stay up all night, and you'll be glad that you stayed up all night doing it. And you'll meet people that like to do the same things that you do because you chose courses that you like that were of interest to you?
Yeah, from my perspective, I think I kind of agree with both of my colleagues here. But one thing which is critical, and it has been very helpful in my career, no matter what you do, whether you do data science or whether you are just do a pure math background or you're a programmer, very critical skill for any individual to be in any profession is to have the people skills.
Yeah.
Ability to work with people, ability to collaborate with people, and because you can't in this world do everything by yourself. There's no single strength that okay, I'm good at this and you can do the entire thing. You have to work as a team. So the ability to work with people and have the agility and be flexible to adapt yourself to the changing needs or requirements of your project or your company or your technology, I think that's going to go far.
Yeah, like what you were saying. Go ahead.
So I want to share a few things. I went there, I've been there. First thing, if you're really caring about data science and statistics and all of those roles, tons of classes, keep taking them for sure. But if you're in this industry, you will hear things, software writes software. Machine's gonna write software faster than you can ever learn. Keep that in mind, right? Keep that in mind, do keep that in mind. But something else in our company that a lot of people don't know is domain knowledge goes a long way. What does that mean? That means, for example, if you are a doctor, we have a surgeon at NVIDIA because we need to go into healthcare. We need to get GPUs into healthcare space. We don't understand healthcare. We got a surgeon, we got a radiologist, we got geologists, we got people working on biology. What do you like to do? Focus on that. For example, in Swiss Federal Railway, right? They have to figure out using deep learning to figure out the if there's faults on the track. Data scientists, they don't know. Different cracks and things look the same, but apparently there are 7 different vents in there. You have to work with someone who has domain knowledge. So what is that passion of yours that someone else cannot take away from you? You want to be that Swiss Army knife that have both data science skills and something else in there.
I have a question for you guys. How many of you are in AI today?
What do you mean? Use AI?
Working in
It's
AI.
broad. I mean, yeah, it is
Yeah,
broad.
I think it's
Working
just-
in some AI-related kind of
Still-
job.
It's still a question what is that AI? So being a data scientist, I'm AI, and I'm doing robotics. So I'm just doing the prediction for the business.
But you are using AI.
I would say for me, I would say goes mathematics, then statistics, then it goes to machine learning, maybe then data science, then AI. And the difference between all of these things are very little. There is you can talk about the statistics and machine learning or data science. Yeah, they're very, very close by.
Okay,
So
let me
that's
ask the
how
question
you
in a
want to
different
say.
way. How many of you think that are close to AI? Or in AI? And how many of you are, after the talks that we gave today, considering going deeper and immersing yourselves into AI? Okay, well, that's a very good thing. I am on my colleagues.
So I have a comment. I'm not in the AI company, but I work in a DI company, data intelligence company.
So that's very important. So I think it really doesn't matter if you're going to be a mathematician, if you're going to be an engineer, if you're going to be an artist. There is going to be space for all of us supporting and being part of any of these technology companies because they need people with different skill sets. As Renee mentioned that they want to go into healthcare. And as an engineer, you necessarily don't understand healthcare, so you need someone with a nursing background or a doctor to provide you with that guidance. So there's space for every one of us, and it doesn't really matter. I mean, I'm telling you, I went into science from early on, and I was telling myself that I'm going to be an engineer for life, and I'm going to do blah, blah, and I went into doing plasma science for a long time, and did my thesis and all that. And see what I'm doing today. I'm doing product marketing, which I never even imagined that will be the case. I used to be in a jumpsuit for most of my career. I used to be all clogged in a very in a clean room where I couldn't even take a cell phone with me or anything. It had to be really cleaned because the particle level in that room had to be at a certain level.
We want to see that picture.
Yes, you won't you will say, is it the same person? Who's like this? And see, after a couple of years, 7 or 8 years, I have completely changed my industries and I'm completely working in a different domain. I used to work in high-tech semiconductor and now I'm working in enterprise software. So I think that's why I was telling that you have to have that fluidity and ability to adapt yourself, no matter what your background is. I work with people who have arts background, who have science, who are science major, who are engineers, and who are artists, and they all come together to build these tools and products. And that's why I think that was critical that when we are talking about AI and machine learning, there is a need to bring these diverse backgrounds together, not only just the ethnicities and gender dynamics or people of color. You have to also bring these perspectives in because that's what's going to create the magic. So I think that's something I want to
Yeah, exactly, and that's perfect. And that's why I say do what you love. Look for the courses that you like and study those because that'll lead you on whatever path you're supposed to be on. And it's being true to who you are, and whoever you are is who we need. Not who you think you want to be or who you think you ought to be, but who you are. So find out who you are, find out what you like, do that. Do what you love.
Yeah, guys, I haven't asked any questions that has created controversy.
Yeah.
I was looking forward to arguing. And we all seem to agree with each other.
Yeah.
But we have a controversial question.
Here's one. So what's your take on strong AI? All the things that were mentioned before as answers to the AI taking jobs and the entire story, that's all nice. But that doesn't really include the concept of strong AI.
The what? The concept of what?
Strong AI. Yeah. So if we imagine the AI that is able to improve itself, and with every generation it builds vastly superior AI and actually builds the device. So we can imagine that this kind of process would be some sort of exponential runoff, and we quickly end up with something we have no idea what it is. So how would such a thing affect the previous comments that you have?
The previous what?
The previous discussions related to the jobs, to the humanism of AI, and so on.
You're talking about Terminator, Matrix.
I'm talking about singularity, technological singularity. Yeah.
Oh, singularity.
That's
You have that.
2039. Is the record sale? It's 2039.
He gives that, yeah.
No, but the question is it's a very interesting topic of discussion because none of us can actually predict what's going to happen when we get to that point. But something that makes me think is the concept of volition. Think about two scenarios. Think about the Terminator-like scenario where, we have this evolving AI that does not have volition of its own, but it evolves into something better and better. And then think about a second scenario where we apply AI to genetic manipulation and we create superhumans that do have volition and do have the not so kind human traits. What do you think gets more dangerous sooner?
Me personally.
But we're creating controversy. I'm helping you.
So humans are very slow. I mean, our generational time is very, very slow. So I would bet on the.
But if you create this generation that is now superhuman, which we're on the verge of doing, because you can apply AI to manipulate your genome and use CRISPR to basically create a new race altogether, a new species altogether. You push it. I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow, but I'm saying within a decade, it's probably plausible. Now, when you have a superhuman, you create a new space. And given that we have agreed that we were all perfect and unbiased, and we're not going to fight against each other, we don't have gaps in between genders, races, or communities. When we create a new species that is superior in every single way, why are you afraid Are we ever going to even make it to have a supercomputer?
We may not.
That is going to be a problem.
Yeah, we may not.
It's I mean, like, you know, something just triggered my thought. I was just watching Star Trek. This is one of my favorite shows, and I think I have watched all the series multiple times. Partly because of my husband, he watches it every day. So they had this this interesting, the same kind of dilemma. The concern was that they had on one of the planets they found two different types of humanoids, and one was battling a disease and they were getting eradicated, and the other one was superior but they were not that intelligent, and they were evolutionary. They found that they could potentially become that. And the question for the Voyager, the Enterprise, was whether they should come and provide the medicines or whatnot, so that both the one which is dying and is going to get eradicated, they should give them that medicine or not. So I think I kind of wanted to tie in here that it's about the evolution, and maybe this AI thing, maybe if we want to think it in that sense, it is the next level of evolution for humans as well, that maybe we come to that evolutionary phase where we create that kind of intelligence and that kind of superhuman capability who are better than us, and we perish. Maybe that's where it is going, but we don't know. I mean, that's a possibility,
I like to say anything is possible, and I've said it a gazillion times tonight, and it truly is. It's written up there. It's not all this AI and machine learning and all those things. Those are tools for us to make more things possible. The reason that things are possible, the reason that we have machine learning, AI, and all those things, is because people dreamt. People had thoughts. They had ideas. I was lamenting the fact that not all of my dreams have yet come true, and I don't know if all of them will come true, and certainly they won't. And a friend of mine said to me, all of your dreams don't need to come true. Only some of them need to come true. But dreaming, that is important. It's important to dream. So you'll have many dreams. Some will come true, some won't. Doesn't matter. Einstein, can you imagine how many dreams that guy had? He wrote a book about it. Not all of his dreams came true, but dreaming in itself is a necessary activity, and all of these things that we talk about are merely tools so that we can do more. We are the ones that are using the tools.
For now.
Yes.
Yes, now.
Exactly.
Okay. Here's the question. Okay, how about one more question?
I want to ask one question. This is regarding we are discussing about how to curb the ill effects of AI or the dark side, and we are saying that we have policies and we can make good decisions, right? But actually, we are betting on the wishes or caprices of someone, right? Whom we cannot trust.
Yes.
And also policies, like we were saying, who makes the policies? The people. But is it really the people making the policies, or is it the industries and making the policies?
Those are people too. Yeah. No, I mean, I'll say how I feel about this. We're in dire straits right now in our country in a lot of ways. I think we're having a war. I think there's a battle of good and evil in a lot of ways. But I also think that there's a lot of great things going on. There's a lot of positive things. You keep laughing. I want to hear what you're thinking. Okay,
I think I understand what you're saying.
Okay, but here's the thing, and this is really where the battle lies. Every single day, every single moment is in your own heart and your own mind. So where are you choosing to let circumstances take you in a moment-to-moment basis? Are you allowing yourself to cry and wail because things aren't as you want them? Or are you saying, there's actually a lot that I like here? Or maybe you can enjoy some ice cream. I mean, I like ice cream. But truly that, the battle isn't always external, because there are always going to be things. And we are in a precarious time. You should have knowledge. You should equip yourself. You should know what you want, what you think. We have people making policies. It's very dangerous, because those are the laws that govern the land, and laws have impact on us. But you have to look in your own self and decide how you're going to react to a situation and what you're going to do about it.
I would take it a notch higher. I don't know, I don't think that reacting is good enough. I think that you have to take action, and you have to take responsibility, and you have to take your future and control of your own life. And if you don't like the way things are going, do something about it. That was what my presentation was about it. Because, you know, if you don't know, if you're ignorant, if you live in a blissful happiness, then you can't do anything about it because you don't know that there is a problem. You don't know that the problem is coming to you. But if you know that there is a problem, if you see it coming, if you have the power, the tools, the ability, the strength, the know-how, the education, the position, the circle, the influences, to do something about it, don't you think you have a responsibility to act on it rather than just waiting and see what happens? Because it's very easy to complain about the way things are going and how the world is changing around us. But we all have the power to do something about it. So think hard about what role you want to play in that society that's coming.
And then look to people like Mahatma Gandhi, who said, be the change that you want to see. Look to people like Nelson Mandela, who was able to peacefully change things. Look to those people to see how you make changes. Because it's easy to get mad and pull out guns. I own a 9mm Glock myself, actually. I don't have it here tonight. I came from the airport. Otherwise, but I mean, seriously, you have to look to those people to figure out how you're going to change. I absolutely agree. You have to make the changes. But
try to agree with me after I know.
Everybody's going to agree to that.
And also we were talking about like the internet or technologies creating jobs, but it is creating jobs among one section of the people, and it is and one section of the people is losing the jobs. So like maybe we should think about how we protect the vulnerable section of the people who are losing their jobs. Even with the internet, some section of the people are gaining the job. The world population is increasing. So even if it is 1:2.6, the world population may have grown by 10 times. And it is only one section of the people who is gaining from the internet, from the new technology, and another section of the people is getting, drained out from the advance in the technology.
So look to create jobs for those people. Look to create companies. Look to provide opportunities. What are you going to do with those people? What can they do? Because they're not useless people. They can do stuff. So figure out what they can do and help them do it. Find ways to employ them. That's the best thing you can do for those people. Make them feel useful. Because the worst thing you can do to people is say, you're useless, you can't do anything, I'm going to pay everything for you, don't worry, you're not going to starve to death, but I'm going to pay you. That's a horrible thing to do to a person. What you do to people is you say, you're valuable, you can do something, let's figure out what it is. I had that horse that I had. He was very old, he lived till he was almost 31. I bought him for $1. My neighbor was going to kill him years before. I had people come, because he was old. I loved him. Now he's not the use case that I'm talking about. Although because he seriously inspired people around the world. People still call. Actually, when he died, I couldn't tell him when he died. People call and say, "How was Scooter?" I still get this. Oh, he's inspiring people around the world. I'd say because I didn't want to say he died. But I had 3 people come to my house that would take care of him every single day. I traveled. I was there with him, but he needed such care. And one was doing the hay and the feeding, and he was cleaning the horse, and the other one was coming administering medical to the horse, and the third person was like hanging out with the horse, and which was fine. He needed company, but she really wasn't doing anything, and it kind of bugged the other 2 people because like one was a volunteer, one was paid, what he wanted, it was fine, or what she wanted, but this other person really wasn't doing much, and she was the one who was paying the most. And these people were like, what's she doing? Why are you paying her? And I said, you know what, you're right. Let's figure out what she is good at, and let's have her do it. So she's going to be worth what she's getting paid. She played the harp, and she sang. And that like music calms the savage beast. He wasn't savage, but my horse loved the harp, and I found it very healing. I liked it too. We found what she was good at. There was a guy at UiPath who wanted to fire. I said to his boss, find out what he's good at, and have him do that. So when you talk about these marginalized people, and I know we all get ourselves in a problem, like people are who's getting marginalized, help those people. Look what's happening with all the people who now we want people that make hand good knits. I've done stuff with people in India who come up with textiles. We're paying people for handmade textiles now. All those things. Look for that.
I agree with you on that part. And the second part is you start small, try to influence just around you, and then you scale.
But even my cleaning people,
and we always want someone else to do the change rather than us.
I
Yes.
want to share with you a little bit more about starting small. I said I'm going to start a company. starting companies, for a lot of people are like, just get rid of excuses and start. From some of the folks in the room, you have family, you have small children. There are like situations you can't start right away, right? Those are real concerns because you might be the only person that's bringing in the dollar amount for the entire household. So I actually started small within NVIDIA to help those people. What I did was not just within my business unit, right? I saw those boxes, PGS. There are things I cannot do with my title. So I ended up went to Women in Tech. I participated. I said, hey, I want to be on a committee. I got in. And then this is a worldwide committee. Basically means I'm going to share the women voices around the globe, anywhere that has a NVIDIA office. And compared to previous years, what they do is like, oh, let's just talk about it. I was like, okay, great, let's talk about it. And I was like, instead of talking about it, let's do something. So you know what I did? I just basically said, I'm going to start AI projects. And all the projects are going to have sprint mentality. Sprint mentality means I get to finish a project from the beginning to the end within 3 weeks. And I get to identify a problem, solving a particular business unit's issues, and have less than 5 people per group to be part of this AI project. So if you guys were to read Andrew Ng, he posted a AI transformation playbook. When you start with AI, try not to pick the problem that's going to change the entire company's priority. Pick something that's just enough of significance and start there and prove success early and fast and quick. If not, fail fast and get up faster, right? And I did that was because I was in the same shoes. I wanted to be able to do another person's job, but you know, big companies is challenging. For you to move from one company, one department to the other, it's not as easy as some of us may think. But create opportunity for yourself, create opportunities for others. And like honestly, I was like, that's my first step of becoming the next CEO or start my startup. Or come on, sometimes you never know. This whole AI thing might just be a bubble. 1950s to 70s, it was AI. We experienced AI winter, and we're coming back again. Who knows? Just make a bunch of money, go to Hawaii, and have a great time with your family. And be happy. Just be happy, right?
I'm hereby declaring I'm going to be her first business angel.
I'll be the second. Definitely. No, that's why I think UiPath is so fascinating because it's a practical application. It's not as exciting. I absolutely loved all the presentations. I thought they were all freaking awesome. And the use cases that you saw with the faces melting, I mean, that was like, wow, that's so cool. How do you tie that back? And then, what do you do with it? How can you make money out of it? And you guys can come up with ways you can do that. So think big, dream big, get your rest, save your money, love everybody around you. Things that bots can't do. Anything else?
Wrap it up.
One more?
Yeah,
Okay,
last
one.
I used to manage a couple of pharmaceutical companies. So they purchased hardware from us for research, and it's mind-blowing how much money is devoted to the more common diseases, HIV, malaria, and whatnot. But a small amount of that, very, very small amount is devoted to these rare genetic diseases that are they're absolutely life-threatening. They only affect a very small amount of people. Do you think AI has the ability to balance that? And if it does, do you think we have a moral obligation to do that, to focus not only on the profit, the best opportunities for profit, but also provide therapeutics for those people that really need it?
So I'm going to flip it around and say, rather than moral obligation, I'm going to say, is it something that we want to do? Because I find when you say moral obligation, it seems burdensome and onerous. I mean, that's just me personally. And when I say, is it something we want to do? Do we want to help those people? Yes. And do I think that AI and machine learning and all these things can help? I say yes. Because, it's a matter of coding something up, programming it, and going to look for it. So yes, and I think that is one of the beautiful outcomes of all these technologies that we could help with.
So I think that the point that you addressed in there is not necessarily the resources in themselves, it's the money behind that. And how society is organized today, where the money is where the big pharma goes, right? So that's where the research happens. But with the democratization of AI, that means that if you're motivated enough, even if you're not a big pharma, you have an amazing range of tools at your disposal. So much smaller groups with a lot less money are going to be able to do a lot more and a lot faster with the growth of AI. So even if no big pharma ever addresses those, there's an opportunity for highly motivated individuals, groups, communities, associations, etc., to get it done. Mind you, that's not all of it. Why? Because what happens today is that those groups already exist. Big pharma comes, buys them out, and the next thing you know, it's $500 a pill, regardless of how much it costs them, right? So we have to address the technical problem, but we also have to address the social problem. Otherwise, the problem is going to still persist regardless of whether the solution is there. Because it's shameful to see that there are medicines and ways to solve people's problems. People are actually dying because they can't afford to pay $300 a day for something they need to live.
Yeah. So I just want to say that, so with our bots are getting, to Pilar's point, our bots are getting so much more intelligent and easy to program that, a layman more or less can start programming bots, so that they're empowered to do more. Even, working on this presentation, and I took some videos of people and I edited them, and I thought, boy, some number of years ago, I would have had the equipment, I would have had the ability to edit it, I would know how, all these things that I now can do. So you can do these things in programming. To our friends from San Jose State, thank you so much for coming. I think it's fantastic you're here. I'd love to talk to you more. The fact is, what you need to do is you need to think. That's critical thinking, because if you just learn how to program, how to move something from here to there, a software program will be able to do it. A monkey will be able to learn. You need to be able to think about why you're doing it, why it matters, and then what to do. Then you can figure out what's the best way to do something. So continue to study philosophy.
If I may comment. Share. Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
One specific healthcare example. I actually had healthcare examples, but I was running out of time, so I got rid of them. Not directly in pharmaceutical, but in healthcare in particular. Do you know about the children bone density use case from Massachusetts General Hospital?
No.
So Massachusetts General Hospital is actually one of the first big companies, organization, institute that's actually used AI in healthcare, right? So what they do is for those of you who have kids, maybe some of your kids actually are going through experience of growth problems. They're not growing as tall as they should have been, right? So that could potentially be resulted by the bone density issues. And way back in the days, actually for the longest time, for 70 years, what they do is actually they scan the X-ray and they would compare to a 1970s textbook. They would flip to pages and try to compare this X-ray to those pages and say, oh, bone density is good, bad, and therefore parents do this. That was kind of what they were doing for 70 years, right? And at first, I didn't believe this, and then until we hired a radiologist at NVIDIA, I actually asked him, was that actually just a marketing story or what? And he was like, oh, no, Renee, if you were to visit my office before I joined, I have a whole stack of pile of X-ray that I have no time to go take a look at because of such tedious work. So they actually ended up using deep learning, right? So they actually trained 7,400 X-rays and then feed it into a machine to be able to automatically identify these X-ray bone density to a 99% accuracy rate, and then be able to automatically tell worried parents if your kids actually have growth problem or not. Otherwise, they have to wait weeks before the radiologist can actually get to it. So an example like that, it took Massachusetts General Hospital probably a good 2 years to be able to deploy something like that from the beginning to the end. A year later, a startup did exactly that. It's called Bit16 in San Francisco. 3-4 months production, ready to sell. So when you're asking, is it going to be transformational? Yes. Specific use case. Is it going to be profitable? Yes. How do you do it, right? And there's a lot of other examples in pharmaceutical as well. I'm happy to show, have a full on deck about healthcare, to be honest. And just to answer your specific question about healthcare, and we actually I actually have a lot of other demos that I'm very happy to share with you. In fact, I actually offered Nikki, for anyone here that wants to come to NVIDIA Executive Briefing Center to get a tour about a lot more of these demos?
I do.
Please.
I do, yeah.
I
This is
just
a great
share
idea.
with you guys a small segment.
Yeah.
In our NVIDIA briefing center, there's so many more of these fascinating use cases. Tell us your industry, we'll show it to you.
And you said something critical, you said use cases. It's all about the use cases. That's, what are you gonna do with it?
Yeah, I
So,
can't
so
solve
our
everything,
young
but some
friends back there, think about it. Oh, sorry.
Specific makes you unique.
Yeah.
And if you're
Yeah.
bored and you're like, no, data science, I don't want to do image recognition. Image recognition is done everywhere. Everybody is doing this, but something unique, something very interesting and narrow, it's much more interesting.
Yeah,
to
if you
go
have a,
with you.
yeah, and then you get acquired. I mean, when you have those, not that I'm thinking about getting acquired, but I am. But when you have those individual use cases, yes, they do get acquired, they get snapped up by the big guys.
It's totally about the problem you're trying to solve. And I think there's no dearth of capital, in the valley or otherwise, who don't want to invest, because then you have a specific problem you're trying to solve. And given the technology landscape we have, companies are ready to give you technology for free. I mean, I even at Oracle, they will give you for that technology so much cheaper that if you can build a business out of it. I work with a lot of startups as part of my program, and I have I've seen some of the amazing stories there. And in fact, last week only I was there, and one of them is actually in healthcare. And they're using streaming data because a lot of people die in ambulance, before getting from one stage to the hospital. His startup is about using machine learning and these technologies on the data they are collecting while they are in ambulance, and figuring out what kind of prescription and things they need to do to the patient before the patient can actually even get to the hospital. So I think there's some of the amazing things you can do, given that the technology is available to you, and it's much cheaper. And companies like NVIDIA, Oracle, they are ready to give it for at a free or even at a cheaper cost, just to make you part of their ecosystem. So I think if you have a business problem to solve, there's an opportunity.
I like that. That's something else we're gonna add for you guys, solve problems. You know, I mean, it's easy to look at problems and get worried and say, what are we gonna do about this? But figure out how you're gonna solve problems instead. It's way more fun to think about, how are we gonna solve this? What are we gonna do here? You'll feel much more empowered to, and you'll actually take action that will be much more productive and more fulfilling.
Yeah, even the algorithms and training models, many of these companies, even Google and others, they are just giving it away.
Yeah.
Use it. Tell us how you can use it to solve a problem.
So they don't have to feed it.
Are we done? Are we done?
Thank you, speakers, so much. A little gift for you guys. I know you guys already dream big, but we have something for you to dream even more.
It comes from a pink bag, which is.
We have a dream
board.
so you can dream more.
Thank you. That's awesome. Thank you. I love it.
Thank you so much. That was incredible.
Thank you all for coming.
Yes, thank you so much. And the questions were great. Thank you for your active participation. And I just have a quick announcement. On April 18th, CSPA is hosting a major quantum computing event at Google Cloud Building in Sunnyvale. We have top